with being, with strength we proclaim. Yahuah, Aloha, Qadash is your name. You shall love Yahuah with all your heart, with all your being, every part, with all your strength, let nothing depart. You shall love Yahuah with all your heart. These words shall be written deep in our soul. When we rise up and walk, your Torah is whole. We bind them as signs, they dwell on our gates. Your love is forever, your truth never waits. You shall love Yahuah with all your heart, with all your being, every part, with all your strength, let nothing depart. You shall love Yahuah with all your heart. Teach it to children, speak day and night, write it on doorposts, walk in the light. Hear, oh Yashar, oh Yahuah is one, our esteem, our refuge, our sovereign alone. You shall love Yahuah with all your heart, with all your being, every part, with all your strength, let nothing depart. You shall love Yahuah with all your heart. Yes, you shall love Yahuah with all your heart.
All right, so
Can anybody hear anything?
Yep.
oh, sorry, my mic must have muted automatically. My bad. So no, Shabbat Shalom,
Okay,
everybody.
just checking.
Yeah, no, thank you. But no, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We got a very important presentation today. You know, Sister Marissa has found a lot of amazing information about the calendar, the importance of the North, many other things as well. And we're also going to be covering and going over, you know, the difference, or sorry, I shouldn't say the difference, but maybe it is a difference actually. But the difference between the sons of Zadok who were at Qumran and what, you know, mainstream has labeled them as Essene. They're completely different. So it's going to be a good one today. Praise Yahuah. All praise to the Most High. So yeah, that's so actually before we start, I wanted to just mention this. So this is like a part 2 to the calendar in the North, which is fellowship number 50. And I'll just reply to it here in the chat. But so there's the link I shared earlier. And so for those of you who haven't watched it or seen it or want to review it again, it's a very, very good video, very important information. And this is just a continuation of that. And Shabbat Shalom, Lachlan. Good to see you here, brother. Yeah, we will be
Shabbat Shalom.
So let's just go ahead and get right into it here. So I'll say a prayer, and then we'll we'll dig right into it. Sorry. Father Abba Yahuwah, We come to you in prayer for your blessings and your guidance as we read and we study through your word and learn about the importance of your calendar and your festivals and your Sabbaths. And I wanted to pray for a hedge of protection around this entire fellowship, all of our mishpacha in here. Please put a hedge of protection around all of us and protect us from any attacks from the enemy that may come forth. We know the enemy does not like the truth to be out there, and especially about Yahuah's true Sabbath days, his Moedim. So please just protect us all, guide us, and help us to change our hearts and our minds to have a better heart and a following for you and not our own. And I also wanted to pray for those who are going through trials and tribulations, whether they're sick or struggling, no matter what it may be. Please help to lift us up, help us to overcome all these things. You give us our strength, and you can fight our battles for us. And we truly thank you for all of that, Father. And I pray to you in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, and let it be so.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Jeremy, was there anything else you wanted to say before I get into it?
No, I was just going to ask you to get into it. Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay. Okay, awesome. So yeah, this is the continuation from our Fellowship 50 that we did a couple of weeks ago. And in that presentation, we talked about first the nature of Yah and how we can see his hand throughout our life and all of his creation, in things as small as a seashell or a fern, and how we can see his continuance, or how he is infinite and never ending. And so we'll also see that interwoven into the luminaries and how his calendar is set up. And then we got into the concept about the north and how on the biblical earth, the north is the center of all things, and that Yahuah himself is also the center of all things. And so when we consider the perspective of how the luminaries move in the north, it starts to create a picture of how we can also see them move where we are on earth as well. And so this presentation, we're going to talk about the solar cycle and the Dead Sea Scrolls, essentially. This first verse is from Wisdom of Solomon. It is he who gave me true knowledge of the forces of nature, what the world is made of, how the elements behave, how the calendar is determined by the movements of the sun, the changing seasons, the constellations, and the cycles of years. So this sentence is pretty loaded here, but the main focus is the movements of the sun. So the sun has different altitudes in it where it will be riding low or it'll be riding high in the sky throughout the year. And then also the angle that it rises and sets at, or comes into view and out of view at. And so the amount of light that the sun is given off is what gives us those changing seasons and helps our crops to grow. And then the constellations as like the backdrop of a clock, if you will, that tells us a lot of important information as well, including the cycles of the years. And so understanding the solar cycle first and foremost is how we're going to get the anchor of Yah's luminary calendar. Second Ezra says, upon the fourth day, you commanded that the sun should shine and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order, and gave them a charge to do service unto man that was to be made. So man had not been created yet, but they were given a charge to do service unto men on the fourth day. And so when we read Enoch, we learn that the year is 364 days. There are 6 portals that the sun moves throughout the year. And that's what gives us the rhythm of days and seasons, as well as I just want to point out that the number of man is 6. And so it's interesting that the sun's service unto man is whilst it's in these 6 portals throughout the year. Enoch 72 describes how the sun rises and sets through these 6 portals. The length of day and night changes systematically. Early portals correspond to spring, middle portals to summer, later portals to autumn, and the final portals to winter. So, okay, so I have the graph here where I have the month place, the biblical month, and as well as the portals and how many days the sun is in each portal. And so in Enoch 72, he describes the entire sequence of those 364 days. But just for the sake of not reading the entire chapter, I made the graph here. Enoch 2 says, "Observe ye everything that takes place in the heaven, how they do not change their orbits, and the luminaries which are in the heaven, how they all rise and set in order, each in its season, and transgress not against their appointed order. Behold ye the earth, and give heed to the things which take place upon it from first to last, how steadfast they are, how none of the things upon earth change, but all the works of Elohim appear to you. Behold the summer and the winter, how the whole earth is filled with water and clouds, and dew and rain lie upon it." All right. And so when we think about the portals and how the sun moon moves, as I was describing, so above the biblical earth, the sun will move inwards and then also outwards, but simultaneously it moves up vertically and down. And so this was an illustration by 2 sisters of ours. On the right here, we have the one illustrated by Charlie Lloyd. And I love this one because it shows the different angles of the view. And in the last picture, you can see that analemma and how at a certain point in the analemma, the sun has now traversed northward as opposed to its previous position that was southward in the analemma. And she has the cross right there on the 4th line, but it's that cross is misplaced a bit. I know a lot of people think that when they see the picture of the analemma, that cross in the middle is what is the center point of it, but it's actually not when we compare it to realistic photographs of an analemma. And then the picture on the left is really Adrian's understanding of how the sun moves into each portal. This illustration is made by Natalie, and I love this because if you take notice to the colors, you'll see the seasons. So at the top, you'll see the 10th, 11th, and 12th month is in its own color. So every season has a different quarter of the calendar. And then the part 3, I'll get into these little mansions that she has on the outside. So that'll be exciting too. Okay, so now that we understand Enoch 72 gives us the layout for the 364-day calendar in the 30, 30, 31, we also have that second witness from the Dead Sea Scrolls here attesting to the calendar layout. And so I just want to read Ezekiel 44 here, talking about the Zadok priesthood. "They shall teach my people the difference between the holy and the common, and cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean. In a dispute, they shall stand as judges and judge it according to my judgments. They shall keep my laws and my statutes in all my appointed festivals and hallow my Sabbaths. So the Dead Sea Scrolls contain a calendar that's been preserved by the Zadok priesthood. And these scrolls were discovered at Qumran. And essentially what happened was our priests were kicked out of the temple. And so they went off on their own and they were keeping Yah's appointed times and festivals the way that he told them to. And so I know that that can be debatable too, like who these people were, where did these Dead Sea Scrolls come from? Are they the Essenes? And so actually Jeremy's going to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sister. Give me just a sec here. Let me share my screen here. And so this is a little write-up I did about it, and it's really actually very easy to search. It's not any hidden information. It's actually really out there. So, if you just type a search in your search engine you like, and say Gnosticism versus Nicolaitan, the roots of Gnosticism and Nicolaitan, and you'll see exactly who these Essene people are, and we're going to get into that right now. So, the sons of Zadok are not Essene. They're not associated with them, not at all. So the sons of Zadok, a lineage of priests mentioned in the scriptures, are distinctly different from the Essenes, which is a separate Jewish sect known for their ascetic lifestyle and community practices. While some scholars suggest connections between the two, the sons of Zadok are specifically identified in the context of priestly duties and loyalty to Yahuah, particularly in the prophecies of Ezekiel. And that's what Sister Marissa had just read for us, especially in Ezekiel 44. Very important. So this, the sons of Zadok are also known as Zadokites. And they are a lineage of priests descended from Zadok, who served as the first high priest in Solomon's temple. They are mentioned in the book of Ezekiel, particularly in context of a prophetic vision of a future temple, when they are granted exclusive rights to minister at the altar, and their loyalty to Yahuah during times of national rebellion is emphasized, distinguishing them from other Levite priests. So here's where we're going to get into the difference between the two. So the Essenes were a separate sect active during the Second Temple period, associated with Gnosticism, which is a vegan, esoteric, unbiblical cult. While some scholars have speculated about connections between the Essenes and the sons of Zadok, they are not the same group at all. The Essenes are described in historical texts by Josephus, Philo, and Pliny, but they do not refer to themselves as the sons of Zadok, and had distinct beliefs and practices very different from the sons of Zadok, such as veganism and practices and beliefs that do not line up with scriptures. And in fact, it requires removal of 90% of scriptures to follow this Gnostic nonsense. So most of these beliefs were esoteric in origin and completely differed from what is written in scriptures for us to follow. Those at Qumran are not Essene, they were Zadokites. They were the sons of Zadok. They lived in Bethabara. The Essene lived 30 miles away on a mountain above in En-Gedi, and followed the Nicolaitan doctrine, which was condemned in Paul's letters and in Revelation here, as heresy and sinful. So this is Revelation chapter 2, verses 4 through 7. But I hold this against you, that you have left your first love. So remember from where you have fallen, and repent and do the first works, or else I shall come to you speedily and remove your lampstand from its place, unless you repent. Now this is very important here. We've seen this personally. So, yet this you have, that you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the assemblies. To him who overcomes, I shall give to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of Elohim. So the Nicolaitans were a heretical group in the early ecclesia, whose teachings posed significant dangers to true faith and practice, and they still do. So according to the 2nd century quote-unquote church father, Irenaeus, the Nicolaitans were closely associated with Gnosticism, a heresy that sought to merge quote-unquote Christian doctrine with Greek mythology and philosophical ideas. This syncretism distorted the truth by promoting a false sense of spiritual superiority, asserting that secret knowledge could enable believers to transcend the flesh and its sins. Yeah. At the same time, the teaching condoned or even encouraged immoral behavior, thereby corrupting the true understanding of salvation and just the whole message of what Scripture says. But we see those who fall for this Gnostic doctrine, they are very influenced by immoral behavior. And apologies for my creaky voice, it's just that time of year. So Gnosticism, including the Nicolaitan heresy, undermined and compromised the truth by blending pagan elements with what Scriptures actually says and reads, leading believers away from genuine truth and moral integrity. The Nicolaitans' distorted view rejected the necessity of living a set-apart life and maintaining a scriptural foundation to His Word. The historical example of the Nicolaitans and their Gnostic roots underscores the enduring importance of having a foundation in the truth of His Word. False teachings that distort the truth continue to exist in various forms today, making it imperative for believers to be diligent in protecting their faith and worship from such corruptions. And that's why it's so very important to have a foundation in His Word. You know, test everything to His Word. Trust and follow no man. And, you know, it's very important to also have that discernment. And just real quick to show you guys how easy it is to search these things out. And let me switch my screen here. So as you can see, it's all over Wikipedia. It's all over the internet. I'll just read this quick. It's an AI generated response, but there, as you can see, there is a whole lot of stuff. Really, really easy to search out. So the Nicolaitans were an early quote-unquote Christian sect mentioned in the book of Revelation, often associated with heretical teachings that promoted immorality and idolatry, similar to some Gnostic beliefs. Gnosticism itself is a diverse religious philosophy that emphasizes secret knowledge and often diverges from traditional Christian teachings, making both groups controversial in early Christianity. But here we see, it's speaking about what they are. So the early Christian sect mentioned in Revelation, and we can see, so it's believed to derive from Nicolaus, one of the first 7, they say, deacons mentioned in Acts 6:5. But the connection between Nicolaus and Nicolaitans is debated among scholars. So the heresy is they were considered heretical and they were linked to Gnostic beliefs. The antinomianism, their teachings included antinomian views, suggesting that moral laws were not binding on believers. This led to practices that were seen as immoral, such as sexual immorality and eating food sacrificed to idols. The Nicolaitans are frequently associated with Gnosticism, a movement that emphasized secret knowledge, which is why it's called Gnosis, and the path to spiritual enlightenment. We can just see by reading all of this the many doors that it opens up to just, for lack of a better word, be ran through by demons. And that's exactly what it is. But we can see, honestly, all you got to do, just type in Nicolaitans and Gnosticism, and you will find all this information and even more. So yeah, we will take it back here to Sister Marissa.
Okay, yeah, so the Essenes, they promoted that kind of doctrine. That's what you're telling us, Jeremy?
Wait, what's that again? Sorry.
I said, the Essenes, they promote that kind of doctrine, right? Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, exactly. So the Nicolaitan doctrine, which is warned about, you see
Yeah.
that connection to it and how dangerous it is.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So I'm going to go through the layout
I can't
for
hear
the
Marissa if she's talking. Is anyone else having difficulty?
I can hear. Here, I can turn her mic up. Hold on.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go through the layout for the calendar that is found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. But first, I want to talk about the Tekufa. So in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we're going to hear the word Tekufa, and it's at the beginning of each season. A lot of times people will mistake that word Tekufa to mean equinox or solstice. But when you actually go looking into those events, they are not 91 days apart. And Enoch is specific about each season being 91 days. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they're specific about each season being 91 days. And so that leads us to look into, well, what does the word Tekufa mean? Because it's clearly relevant. Even in the Book of Jubilees, they talk about the seasonal heads and that these correspond with the Noah days. And so Tekufa literally means cycle or circuit. And then I just want to point out too that with the 91-day seasons, all of these are replicable. They are all the same. In that, like, month 1 has the same layout as month 4 once the season changes. And so if there is an anomaly at the end of the fourth season or the 12th month, then it's going to make the pattern not infinite. It will change that pattern. But we know that the nature of Yah is infinite, so they all have to match. And so Miss Natalie put this together for us with the pictographs for the Hebrew and the meanings of each letter in the word Tekufa. Oh, and then also on the left there, you can see that analemma that I was talking about, how if you really put like your hand on one side of it and then your hand on the other, you will notice that the center point in the analemma is not where it's crossing. And I was talking about that earlier, so I wanted to point that out. All right, so here's a translation from the Dead Sea Scrolls for month 1. It says, the beginning of the first month on weekday 4, Tekufa, on the 4th in it, Sabbath. So on the 4th day in it, Sabbath. On the 11th day in it, Sabbath. And then it goes on to talk about the Feast of Passover and unleavened bread. So the first month begins on day 4 of the week, aligning with the Tekufa, the spring turning of the year. So the first day of the year is going to be day 4 of the week, because the sun was set forth on its service to man on that day. And so, let's see, I'm just reading through. So yeah, so it goes on to state each one of the Sabbaths that come into the first month. And then looking at the turn of the season going into month 4, the 28th day of month 3 is a Sabbath. And then there's a 3-day transitional period. So the 29th is the first day of the week. Let's see. It says on the 28th and it's Sabbath, weekday 2, and it falls the 30th day of the month. That's on line 6. So the 29th will be the first day of the week, weekday 2 in it, the 30th day falls, it's the second day of the week, and then the 31st is marked as additional. And so that is the intercalary day. Then we got month 6, beginning month 7. I just wanted to show you guys the transitions between the seasons to see how the weekdays fall on the same weekdays at the end of the 3rd month of each season. So it says the same thing here. On the 28th and it's Sabbath, weekday 2, and it falls the 30th day of the month. The beginning of the 7th month is on weekday 4, Tekufa, on the 4th and it's Sabbath. So the Tekufa is listed at the beginning, the first day of each season. And then we have the end of month 9, beginning month 10. We can see the 8th in it, Sabbath, so 28th in it, Sabbath, weekday 2, and it falls the 30th day of the month, weekday 3 is additional. On the first day of the 10th month, Tekufa. Again, these are the Noah days too, so that's relevant. And it's like saying head of the season or beginning of that seasonal cycle. And then we got month 12. And on line 9 on the 28th and it's Sabbath on Vacat, so on the 30th, weekday 2 and it falls the 30th day of the month. Weekday 3 is additional. So that is how the end of the 12th month happens, the same as in line the end of the 6th month and the 9th month and the 3rd month. So what we can really glean from this here is that Tekufa does not always mean equinox and solstice, that it's really marking the head of the season, and that the pattern of Yah's calendar is consistent and replicable. It follows a pattern. So everything that we can learn about the solar cycle, I don't want to say everything, most things that we can learn about the solar cycle is found in the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees, and a couple of other ones that I read out, that Wisdom of Solomon and Second Esdras, and a lot of really good information in those books, where I know for some people they are very leery of those books. And so when they listen to this kind of calendar teaching, it might turn them off to hear quotes from these books. But these books were actually included in the KJV, but then later taken out. And so Jeremy's going to talk a little bit about these books and, the relevance of them and that they are legitimate.
Absolutely. And let me bring the thing up. I'll do it till you're done sharing. So this is actually a section from my write-up that I did. And here, let me share the link here in chat for everybody. And it should take you right to this very chapter here, if you click on the link there. But so this is going to prove out the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees, and mainly those two are the focus here, because these are the main ones that are foundational for the calendar and to understand it. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Actually, can you put that in the maybe with Natalie's stuff about the calendar too?
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Micah said he's having a hard time hearing you.
Hold on, I'm turned all the way up here. Can you hold on one sec? Can you hear me better now? Yeah, I put my volume at 200%, so okay, awesome. I'll try to speak a bit louder too. Yeah, no problem. All right, so like I was mentioning, this is going to be a section from my write-up, my article I did. I shared the link there in chat, and it's always in the description on my YouTube channel as well, for those who are watching this on YouTube. And I'll just go ahead and read it. It's all very, very important and pertains to exactly this. All right, so there are many who try to discredit the books of First Enoch and Jubilees. Both were removed by Rabbi Akiva in the 1st century. As with the Dead Sea Scrolls, the evidence they present is usually false or untrue interpretations, also adding to or taking away from, or misunderstanding what both books actually say. So mostly what people do is they will just listen to somebody make things up about these books to try to discredit them, and then just parrot what these people say and never actually reading these books. It's quite sad, honestly. But let me continue. So the below selected citations are from 11 different books of the Old and the New Testament that reflect word-for-word parallels to the book of Enoch, showing the familiarity, man, I can't say that word, an endorsement of Enoch's sacred words of prophecy throughout Scripture. And remember, this is only 11 examples out of the hundreds, and and made me lose track. Hold on, sorry, apologies, but no, it's only 11 examples out of the hundreds of examples that we see, even doing our Book of Enoch study that we've been doing. It's truly amazing, all the correlations to Scripture, how much Scripture actually, quotes from Enoch. So we have Jude 1, 14 through 15. And Hanok, the seventh from Adam, also Nabu of these, saying, See, Yahuah comes with his myriads of Kodeshim, to execute judgment on all, to punish all who are wicked among them, concerning all their wicked works, which they have committed in a wicked way, and concerning all the harshness which wicked sinners have spoken against him. And this is exactly what Enoch 1, verse 9 says. And see, he comes with 10,000s of his Kodeshim to execute judgment upon all, and to destroy all the wicked, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their wickedness, which they have committed wickedly, and of all the harsh matters which wicked sinners have spoken against him. Then we have Matthew 5, verse 5. Baruch are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. And this matches actually almost the same chapter 5 in Enoch, but verse 7. But for the elect there shall be light and joy and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. So we see Enoch is the one actually who was shown all these things originally. And 2 Peter 2:4. For if Yahuah did not spare the messengers who sinned, but sent them to Gehenna, and delivered them into the chains of darkness to be kept for judgment. So where do we hear that from? Well, it's also found in Revelation 20:10. So, and the devil who led them astray was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet are. And they shall be tortured day and night forever and ever. And both of these together are going to match what Enoch chapter 10, verses 4 through 6 say. And again, Yahuah said to Raphael, Bind Azazel, hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness. Make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudael, and cast him there, and place him upon rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see light, and on the day of the great judgment he shall be cast into the fire. And then we have 1 Timothy 6, verse 16, who alone has immortality, dwelling in the unapproachable light, who no one has seen or is able to see, to whom be respect and everlasting might. This matches up with Enoch 14, verses 21 through 22. None of the messengers could enter and look upon his face, because of the magnificence and esteem, and no flesh can look upon him. The flaming fire was round about him, and a great fire stood before him, and none around could draw near him. 10,000 times 10,000 before him, yet he needed no counselor. So this is the verse I usually always mention, because, not even the angels, the messengers, they could not even look upon him because of his esteem. So we have 1 Corinthians 10, verses 19 through 20, 19 and 20, I guess. So what then do I say? That an idol is anything? Or that which is offered to idols is anything? No. But what the Gentiles offer, they offer to the demons and not to Elohim. And I do not want you to become sharers with demons. So this is actually going to be validating Paul and his writings as well, because he's quoting from Enoch 19, verse 1. And Uriel said to me, Here shall stand the messengers who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as mighty ones, until the great day of judgment, in which they shall be rightly ruled, until they are all made an end of. And we see even Enoch was shown the great day of judgment. So Luke 9, verse 35, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, "This is my Ben, my son, the beloved, hear him." Enoch 45, verses 3 and 4. On that day my elect one shall sit on the throne of esteem, and shall try their works, and their places of rest shall be innumerable. And their beings shall grow strong with them when they see my elect ones, and those who have called upon my magnificent name. Then I will cause my elect one to dwell among them, and I will transform the Shamayim and make it an eternal barakah and light. And maybe I'll read the connection here in Daniel and then just scroll past the next few because it might take a while to read them all. But we got a lot of information to cover here. So Daniel 7, verses 9 through 10. I was looking unto thrones were placed, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like clean wool. His throne was flames of fire, its wheels burning fire. A stream of fire was flowing and coming forth from his presence, and 1,000,000 served him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judge was seated, and the books were opened. This is going to match up to Enoch 47:3. In those days I saw the head of days when he seated himself upon the throne of his esteem. So right there we see Enoch and Daniel called him similar names. And the books of the living were opened before him, and all his hosts, which was in the Shamayim above, and his counselors stood before him. And so this one, we got 1 John 2:15, and it's Enoch 48:7 that it matches with. Acts 10:34 matches up with Enoch 63:8. James 1:6 through 8 matches Enoch 91:4. And this is only a handful of examples out of the thousands of parallels in Enoch to the Bible in scriptures. An online resource of the book of Enoch that shows all the references and parallels to scripture in the entire book of Enoch can be found here. And this is that one we are actually reading from in our Enoch study that shows all the parallels. So this is the most important one. So right here in Matthew 22:29 through 30, and Yahusha answering said to them, "You go astray, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of Elohim. For in the resurrection they do not marry, nor are they given in marriage, but are as messengers, the angels of Elohim in the Shamayim." Messiah is directly quoting from the book of Enoch. There's no other apocryphal books or anywhere else in scriptures that talks about the angels not being given in marriage. Only the book of Enoch, and it's chapter 15, verses 5 through 7. "Therefore I have given them," speaking about men, "wives, also that they might impregnate them, and bring forth children by them, thus that none might be lacking to them on earth. But you, the angels, were formerly spiritual, living the eternal Chai, the life, and immortal for all generations of the world. Therefore I have not appointed wives for you, for as the spiritual ones of the Shamayim, in the Shamayim is their dwelling." So as Messiah is telling the Pharisees they don't know Scripture and effectively calling the book of Enoch Scripture, that's exactly what's going on there. No other book describes the angels not being given in marriage, only the book of Enoch. Messiah quoting from it is all I need personally to validate Enoch. But just as with the Dead Sea Scrolls, many attempt to discredit First Enoch because he reveals the true solar calendar of Yahuah. And, Enoch 82, 4 through 7, it speaks about all that. It's a very long one, but we're going to go past it here. And also Enoch 75, 1 through 2 speaks about the leaders of the heads of the thousands of stars, which is going to parallel exactly up to Jubilees, which is what we're going to get into. And so we see Jubilees 2, 9 through 10, and Elohim appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, Sabbaths, months, festivals, for years, Sabbaths of years, Jubilees, for all seasons of the years. This is why Jubilees is also foundational to the calendar. We also see it spoken about in Jubilees 6, 23 through 24, these 4 heads of the seasonal months that correlate directly with the 4 intercalary days that Enoch was shown. These 4 heads of months are the days after these 4 intercalary days. And it's because they are the Noah days, the important events that happened during the flood, all happen on these heads of these 4 seasonal months. And then Noah himself ordained them as festivals. And so, let me scroll down a bit. So it's going to bring us to the book of Jubilees. Not only does Jubilees parallel Enoch, it also parallels the Tanakh, the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Bible, and specifically Genesis and Leviticus and some of Exodus. It also gives understanding and supports the calendar in the book of Enoch. And as with everything else above, many try to discredit it with lies and false information because it reveals Yahuah's true calendar. So the rabbis after the 1st century after Messiah had mixed opinions regarding what are now known as apocryphal books, such as Enoch and Jubilees. And you can add 2 Esdras, Baruch, so many others to that list. But though some maintain that these books were holy or set apart, Kodesh, the others claim that the reading of these books was enough to condemn one as a heretic. The books of Jubilees and Enoch may have been especially suppressed, as they espoused the solar-based calendar, the true calendar, in contrast to the dominant view supported by the Pharisees, according to which the months are lunar-based, or Babylonian. So one of the most prominent was Rabbi Akiva, who lived between the 1st and 2nd century and became, according to the rabbis, the greatest of all the sages in the Torah. Yeah. He participated in composing the Mishnah and the Halakha, which is a Jewish code of law, and has many mentions in the Talmud and other rabbinic writings, and was also a Kabbalist. Rabbi Akiva had the authority and power to order the removal of older biblical manuscripts and institute the use of new ones. And he could deem Hebrew texts in the temple court to be unfit for public reading. So basically, this guy took it upon himself to deem, his own authority on what books can and cannot be read. And a lot of what's known as apocryphal books now are all on the list of the books he has removed, including Enoch and Jubilees. So, rabbinic sources indicate that the rabbis also had the authority to dispose of entire biblical books if they deemed them unfit or inferior. And in fact, they did so on numerous occasions. Further, they also controlled the copying and dissemination of the Hebrew Masoretic text, which they created. Yep, this is exactly where this Masoretic text came from, where a lot of the King James and a lot of our modern Bible translations are translated from. So even prior to the destruction of the temple, there was already evidence of centralized control by the Jerusalem temple authorities, the usurpers, or the Hasmoneans, over Hebrew biblical manuscripts circulating in Israel. The Masoretic was composed by Pharisee scribes who worked in the temple court and used master copies stored in the temple archives to quote-unquote correct or edit out and reword scrolls brought to Jerusalem by local leaders. This is recorded in rabbinic literature and is also evidenced by the scrolls found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, or Qumran. When the temple was destroyed and other sects disappeared, such as the sons of Zadok, the rabbis emerged with full control over the Proto-Masoretic text and the doctrines and writings of Rabbinic Judaism. These writings became absolutely authoritative for these Palestinians and those who followed Judaism by the rabbis. And this is exactly where we get the Synagogue of Hasatan. That really, that's what it is. Modern day Synagogue of Hasatan. So Akiba and other influential rabbis traveled and successfully exerted their authority, their own authority. In time, the rabbinic influence worldview became central to Judaic belief and practice all across the earth, stemming modern Judaism. And in the mid-2nd century, the Seder Olam became the quote-unquote official Jewish chronology. So Rabbi Yosei ben Hafta, its primary author or editor, was a disciple of Akiba, and they claim the Seder Olam supersedes the authority of the Hebrew text. And this is according to rabbis. And this is a quote from this guy, Rabbi, what's his name? But this is him, a direct quote from him. Our traditional chronology is based on the Seder Olam because of the authority of its author. You know, giving himself all the credit. And again, all the sources to all of this is going to be at the bottom of my article here. So if you want to check out those sources, feel free. But it's rabbinic authority and not the authority of sacred texts that is paramount. The rabbinic Seder Olam was successfully dispersed into the communities as the authoritative chronology of world history. And that's exactly what they still do today, rewrite history. And is followed by some even today. While the Mishnah insists that the calendrical disagreements ought not, under any circumstances, tear the rabbinic community apart, even if that entails suppressing challenging opinions, or, look at this, ignoring astronomical facts in order to maintain calendrical unity. So they are willing to unite in the lies. That's exactly what they do. So thus removing many texts like Enoch, Jubilees, and many more. Qumran and Jerusalem were permanently separated by calendrical matters, the usurpation, and many more things. And this just goes into the Council of Jamnia, if you would like to research more into that. And let me scroll up so you can see. So it's Jamnia, Council of Jamnia. And this just goes into more detail on, you know, why the modern Christian churches and Bibles and things like that, they reject the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees. And I know we've gone over this quite a few times before, so let me get to the Book of Jubilees section. So the Book of Jubilees, also sometimes called Lesser Genesis or Leptogenesis, or the Book of Division of Time, is an ancient Hebrew work of 50 chapters. And in my opinion, and others as well, it was written by Moses. Many scholars believe that as well. So considered canonical by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as well as Beta Israel, or the Ethiopian Jews, where it is known as the Book of Division. and was included in many early canons of the Bible. And until the discovery of extensive fragments among the Dead Sea Scrolls, the only surviving manuscripts of Jubilees were 4 complete Ge'ez texts dating to the 15th and 16th centuries, and several quotations by quote-unquote church fathers such as Epiphanes, Justin Martyr, Origen, as well as Diodorus from Tarsus, Isidore of Alexandria, Isidore of Seville, Eutychius of Alexandria, John Malalas, George Sinclaeus, and George Kendros. There is also a preserved fragment of a Latin translation of the Greek that contains about a quarter of the whole work. So there's already two witnesses in we have right there, and then the Dead Sea Scrolls is the third witness. So the Ethiopic texts, which now numbering 27, are the primary basis for translations into English. Passages in the text of Jubilees that are directly parallel to verses in Genesis do not directly reproduce either of the 2 surviving manuscript traditions. So dating from about 2,300 years ago, it contains material that is specifically in the book of Genesis, Leviticus, and the first half of Exodus. Why? Because after that, Moses had passed. So Moses can't write when he's not here. And in addition, a striking feature of Jubilees is it divides history into a period of 49 years, or hence the title Jubilees, which in a biblical context refers to the end of a 49-year period, and provides dates for biblical events, specific dates really. These following verses validate the book of Jubilees as scripture and inspired, and also shows it lines up with everything Enoch explains about the calendar. So the Jubilees chapter 6, verses 30 through 38, it's going to confirm everything about the 364-day count. And all the days of the command shall be 52 weeks of days, and these shall make the entire year complete. And that's 364. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the tablets of the Shamayim. And there's no neglecting this command for a single year or from year to year. So what we're reading here, every single year is 364 days. There's no neglecting that at all. It's a command from Yahuah. And you shall command the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these shall constitute a complete year, and they shall not disturb its time from its days and from its festivals. For all shall fall out in them according to their witness, and they shall not leave out any day or disturb any festivals. But if they neglect and do not observe them according to his command, then they shall disturb all their seasons, and their years shall be dislodged from this order, and they shall neglect their laws. And all the children of Israel shall forget, and shall not find the path of the years, and they shall forget the heads of the months, the 4 days of remembrance, the Noah days, and the seasons and the Sabbaths. They shall go astray as to all the order of the years. And it continues to go on to say that, but what we see is it's a command every single year to have 364 days only. There's no adding 7 days in there, none of that. And we start the count from 0. We got to remember that. So here we're going to get into the correlations with Jubilees and Scriptures. So Jubilees 16:26. And he Baruch his creator, who had created him in his generation. For he had created him according to his good pleasure. For he knew and perceived that from him would arise the branch of righteousness for the everlasting generations, and from him a Kodesh seed, so that it should become like him who had made all matters, So we know who the branch of righteousness is, speaking about Messiah. We see this in John 8:56. Your father Abraham was glad that he should see my day, and he saw it and rejoiced. Also in Galatians 3:16, but the promises were spoken to Abraham and to his seed. And does he not say, and to seeds, as of many, but as of one, and to your seed, who is Mashiach? So here in Jubilees 16, it proves how Yahuah spoke to Abraham about the coming of Messiah, the branch of righteousness. And from his seed, he was glad, and he blessed him. And this is confirmed in John 8 and Galatians 3. So Jubilees 1:27 through 29. And he said to the messenger, the angel of the presence. So this is very important here. So he's telling a messenger, an angel, to write these things. Write for Moshe from the beginning of creation until my mikdash has been built among them forever. And Yahuah shall appear in the eyes of all, and shall know that I am the Elohim of Israel, and the father of the children of Jacob, and the sovereign on Mount Zion forever. Boom, there it is, Mount Zion. And Zion and Jerusalem shall be Kodesh. We see the difference between Mount Zion and New Jerusalem. A lot of people like to make claims that they're the same thing. They're really not. So, and the messenger, the angel of the presence, who went before the camp of Israel, took the tablets of the division of the years, from the time of creation of the law, and the witness of the Sabbath, of the Jubilees, according to the individual years, according to all the number of the Jubilees, from the day of creation, when the Shamayim and the earth shall be renewed, and all their creation according to the powers of the Shamayim, and according to all the creation of the earth, until the mikdash of Yahuah shall be made in Jerusalem, on Mount Zion. And all the lights will be renewed for healing, and for peace, and for a barakah, for all the chosen of Israel, and so it shall be from that day into all the days of the earth. And there we go. Again, we see, New Jerusalem, it's going to be sitting on Mount Zion. Very important stuff. So Acts 7:53. Who received the Torah as it was ordained by messengers, the angels, but did not watch over it. So Paul, we see, knew that the Torah was ordained and written by messengers, the angels. And then Galatians 3:19, why then the Torah? It was added because of transgressions, until the seed should come to whom the promise was made. And it was ordained through messengers, the angels, in the hand of a mediator. So here we see in Jubilees 1, the messenger of the presence, or the angel, was asked to write for Moses the division of the years and the law of Yahuah. This is not found in the Old Testament, but is found in Paul's writings, who knew Torah very well. And I believe it was probably edited out of our modern translations in the first place, but we see it right there in Jubilees. And then here's a big one that a lot of people, they try to use it to discredit Jubilees. So Jubilees 50, verses 7 through 9 specifically, really the whole chapter of 50 is really good, but we're going to go over verses 7 through 9. So 6 days you shall labor, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahuah, your Elohim. In it you shall do no manner of work, you and your sons, and your male servants, and your female servants, and all your cattle, and the sojourner also who is with you. And the man that does any work on it shall die. Whoever profanes that day, whoever lies with his wife, or whoever says, he shall do whatever on it. So this is a big one with some people, because they're like, oh, well, where's the command to say that? Oh, we're going to show you. So, or whoever says he shall do whatever on it, that he shall depart on a journey therein. So this is, pay close attention here, because it's speaking about departing on a journey in regard to buying or selling. It's not saying just a journey or a travel is sin. But we'll get into that a little bit as well. And whoever draws water thereon, which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whoever takes up any burden to carry it out of his tent or out of his household shall die. You shall do no work whatever on the Sabbath day, except what you have prepared for yourself on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest. So this is a very important thing right here. So do no work except cooking. You are absolutely able to cook on the Sabbath. It says it right here in Jubilees. And I know the reference people like to use is, oh, bake what you bake, and so forth and so on. But that whole entire chapter in Numbers is in reference to the manna bread. If you didn't bake or cook the manna bread, as soon as you gathered it, it would grow rotten and grow worms. So context is really key. But anyway, that's another subject for another time. We'll probably get into that actually sometime, just to go over it. And again, it's okay to agree to disagree. But anyways, let me continue here. So, to guard the Sabbath from all work on that day, and to Baruch Yahuah your Elohim, who has given you a day of festival, and a Kodesh day, and day of the Kodesh rain for all Yisrael, is this day among their days forever. So the whole do not lie with your partner there in Jubilees, we're going to see exactly where that comes from. And it's right here in Leviticus 15, verses 16 through 18. And when a man has an emission of semen, then he shall wash all his flesh in the water, and be unclean until evening. And any garment and any leather on which there is semen shall also be washed with water, and be unclean until evening. And when a woman lies with a man, and there is an emission of semen, they both shall bathe in water, and be unclean until the evening. So not only does the man become unclean, but so does the woman. And you don't want to be outside of the camp for being unclean on a Sabbath day. Very important. Because being unclean causes you to have to go outside the camp.
Hey, Jeremy,
Yeah,
would that also confirm that the Sabbath is observed from sunrise to sunset?
exactly. Exactly. And it confirms why, so a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a couple that try to say, oh, well, the Dead Sea Scrolls says Shabbat starts at evening. That's not true at all. What they're referring to is exactly that, because you become unclean until the next evening. So if you do something unclean the evening before Sabbath, you're going to be unclean the entire Shabbat day until that next evening. So yeah, it confirms, the day begins at sunrise, and that's that. Yeah, exactly, Sumi. All right, so let's see. Oh yeah, Numbers 5, 1 through 3.
Sorry, Jeremy.
It was
Can I just add something in with that?
yeah, no, go ahead,
When,
brother.
when we're talking about the Sabbath, it is absolutely sunrise to sunset. However, if we commit something the evening before the Sabbath, we will be unclean on the day. And I wanted just to mention that because in the Day of Atonement it says between the evenings, from the evening to evening, we observe the Sabbath day. So the observance of the Sabbath starts in the evening. It doesn't mean to say that the Sabbath starts then. It just means that we prepare ourselves for the Sabbath on the sunrise, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that exactly. That I think you worded that very well. So it's not that the Shabbat starts in the evening, but the preparation for it, being clean, all these things. Thank you for that, Ken. And so Numbers 5:1-3.
Wait,
And
can I ask
Yahushua.
a question? Can I ask a question on that? So essentially, you're saying Shabbat starts in the evening.
No.
No, we're saying that you prepare yourself for the Shabbat, which starts on sunrise. If you were to have sexual relationships on the evening before the Sabbath, you would be unclean for the Sabbath day. So you were keeping yourself for the Sabbath sunrise, and you would start that at the evening, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, so by starting in the evening, you mean that's prep evening, and that's very important, apparently.
Yeah, it's preparation for the Sabbath more than anything else.
So essentially, you're prepping your body for the rest, just like we prep for food and everything else.
Okay.
Absolutely, spot on. Yeah.
Okay, so going out the night before or staying up half the night or whatever because Sabbath doesn't start till sunrise, that's not good. We should be home preparing and sleeping. Yeah. Okay, no more partying on the night before.
Well, no, I mean, there's nothing wrong with going to a party. It's the fact that maybe you could overdo it with the wine or something. Do you know what I mean? And then you've caused yourself maybe some issues for being correct on the Sabbath.
So we can do wine or can't do wine?
Oh, wine, yeah, but everything in moderation, isn't it? You don't want to chuck 3 bottles of wine back and then expect to be right on the Sabbath day. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks for that clarification.
I'm sorry?
You don't want to become unclean,
That's
by not
right.
being aware.
Yep. And if you were to commit a sin in the evening, then you would have to deal with it on the Sabbath day, and therefore you would not be taking part on the Sabbath. You would be excluded from the Sabbath, i.e. outside the camp. So we don't want to be outside the camp for the Sabbath day. So we just look after ourselves the night before, make sure that everything's in order, so that we are all okay for the sunrise Sabbath to enjoy the day with him inside the camp.
Is there somewhere that actually gives a time frame for having relations after? I mean, aside from here.
Well, when it talks about the Day of Atonement, it says, it is the most important day of observance, and it starts on the evening before the Sabbath. So there's the clue in how we should be observing all Sabbaths, But and it's just sort of emphatically making sure that if you're going to be part of the Day of Atonement, make sure that you've kept yourself from evening to evening. So the Sabbath day would finish on the evening, but it doesn't begin on the evening, but your observance of the day would begin the evening before. That makes sense. You want to make sure
Day of Atonement, yes.
Yeah, you got your house in order and everything's okay, and you're not having sexual relations or falling into drunkenness or anything like that, and that you're all nice and steady for the next day.
That's for Day of Atonement you're talking?
Yes, but the day I'm saying it's sort of affirmed strongly for the Day of Atonement, but that's what we should be doing for every Sabbath day. It's re-emphasized in stronger terms for the Day of Atonement, because the Day of Atonement is such an important day for you to be clean for that day. Does that make any sense?
The only thing that I'm not sure, because I know that I understand the being clean and all that, but for Day of Atonement and for like Passover, unleavened bread, there are they specifically outline that because it wasn't normally done. I don't know that it was to generate, but that it was set, these days were set apart differently than how they had their every day.
Yeah, so no, we're not saying that the Sabbath starts at sundown. That's not what we're saying at all. What it does start at sunrise in the morning, yes, but we have to, because here, let me scroll back up here real quick. So it talks about, you will be unclean until evening. So if you're doing something unclean that evening and it's already evening, you're going to have to wait until that next evening to not be unclean.
So I get that. There is somewhere actually that I had read, and I don't remember where it was, that it goes into a deeper explanation of that as well. I don't remember where it was.
I actually, in my article here, I go into a lot of detail about when the day starts and.
No, I wasn't talking about the day starts. I get that. I'm totally on board with that. My thing is that what I was asking before was for a specific time for when you had relations, that there's somewhere that I'd read, the kids and I had read, that it actually explained in depth I don't know if it was like a 24-hour or whatever, and I can't remember where I'd seen it. That's what I was asking about that before. I understand about the day. And people will use the Day of Atonement to outline, this is how the Sabbath is supposed to be kept and why it starts in the evening, which we know is untrue, because why would they say this for the one and not in all of Leviticus where they're explaining everything? You know what I'm saying? But no, I get the day. I understand.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, that's what a lot of people try to do. And it's like, well, why is it only mentioned twice for Passover and Day of Atonement? Why would it have to be mentioned at all if it was a normal thing that they were doing, But all right, does anybody else have any other questions before I continue?
I do. Okay, so if Sabbath ends at sunset, does that mean that night you can go do other things? I mean, not that you'd want to, but is it allowed? Like, let's say if there's a concert you want to go to, I mean, is that allowed? Or I always assumed that Sabbath was from sunrise to sunrise, so I kept that night sacred. And I'm not looking for loopholes here, but does it end at sunset? And then are we free to go do other things? I mean, I don't like it when Sabbath ends. I want it to keep going, but I would just like to clarify that. So if in the future something does come up and I'm invited to something, is that allowed?
So in my understanding, because I do a sunrise to sunset, and the nights are what separate the days, and they keep the set apart days away from touching, just the normal regular days. But that's exactly how I do it. If there's any kind of darkness, not that you want the Sabbath to end, but yeah, you can feel free to then continue about your business as you will, I guess. Of course, in the proper manner.
Okay. All right. I don't like to go out at night much, but I was just wondering if the opportunity arises.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want to violate the Sabbath at all.
Yeah, and I agree with. Oh, go ahead, brother.
Can I give you an example, Sarah? weekend before last, my son gave me his recipe or his ingredients for his home tech, which is cooking at school. So I received it on, well, he texted it to me actually. He was staying with his mother, and he texted it to me on Saturday. And it was too late for me to do anything about it. So I mean, I wouldn't go out and buy something the day before the Sabbath. Do you know what I mean? The night before the Sabbath. Okay, so this was Saturday night that I got the message. So I then did Sabbath, and then when the sun went down, I then went out and got the ingredients for his school tech that was going to happen on the next day at school, and that would have been the evening of the Sabbath. But I wouldn't go out the evening before the Sabbath to buy anything, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, wait.
And I think that if we think about this in a sort of a relationship sort of loving manner, let's say you and I were man and wife, I think that we would both prepare ourselves for the Sabbath, i.e., respecting God's commandments and abstaining from anything sort of that way during the night before the Sabbath. But because we've had such a lovely day on the Sabbath, then the Sabbath evening comes, and maybe we might unite our bodies on that evening of the Sabbath, and therefore it wouldn't be seen to be unclean. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I have a question then. So you're saying that you wouldn't buy anything the night before the Sabbath?
I'm usually out shopping that night.
Not yeah. I mean, my son goes. It's very dark here in the UK. Okay, so we're only getting maybe, I don't know, 5 hours of sun, maybe 5 or 6 hours of sunlight. So I got the text and it was quite dark. The sun had already gone down, and so as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to be doing anything when the sun is down the night before a Sabbath. However, on the Sabbath day, when the sun went down in the evening, I then went out and bought something for my son's school cooking.
I understand that. The only issue I'm taking with that is that for those people that work and it's dark when they get off work and they have only the after work to prepare for the Sabbath, they had to go pick up to prepare for their meal or whatever, and in the evening, then I don't agree with that. I think that this is part of the preparation day, which is why the day starts in the morning, so you have until that sunlight to prepare. When they closed the shops the day before the Sabbath, it was for the market, so the whatever the market people, they could continue and go and prepare.
Didn't they close the gates
Right.
the evening before the Sabbath?
Okay.
They closed
Yes.
the city gate
So they could prepare.
So it seems pretty clear we should not be shopping on prep night. I mean, we've got 5 other days to do that. But if we're home, preparing, part of preparation is getting our food ready for the next day, not
part
shopping.
Of the would be shopping it for those that, I guess, I think that might be a little legalistic.
Maybe so.
Everybody just take it to the Father. That's what I recommend. So if it makes you unclean, you probably should not do it the night before a Shabbat. Not saying that the Shabbat begins at night, but you will be unclean until that next evening if you do anything unclean to make yourself unclean. So
well, that's clear. Don't go play in the mud.
Yeah. But whatever you are convicted to do, as long as we are doing it in fear and trembling to Yahuah, that's really the most important thing about it.
Yeah, and I've just seen the comment in the, if I don't mind me if I can read it. Buying and selling the evening before doesn't make one unclean, and I agree with that. Sexual relations does, and I agree with that. Not everything makes you unclean. Absolutely right. I personally felt uncomfortable going out to the shops that before a Sabbath. That was my own personal take on it. I'm not saying that that's right or that's the way it should be done. But after the Sabbath day, when the question was, we've had the Sabbath day and then the sun's gone down, then I can think that we could return to our normal sort of evening activities. I just think that the evening activity before the Sabbath is slightly a little bit more. It should be a little bit more honourable, if you know what I mean. That's all I meant by it, if that makes any sense. Just trying to be honourable.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, brother. Absolutely.
Trying to stay clean and show reverence. It's good.
Yeah, yeah.
I personally keep like Saturday. I mean, not Saturday. Well, Sunday this year, and yeah, from sunrise to sunset. But like I've been like keeping the Sabbath night too. I guess Sunday night as like the Sabbath night. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to see what you like why you just keep the Saturday, the Sunday, and not the night.
Well, so in my write up here, I have a section. It's called "When the Day Begin" or "When Does the Day Begin," and I walk it through scriptures and show that there's a separation between the Yom, the light part of the day, and the Layla or the Shozek or the darkness of the night. And it's the darkness that separates the days. And so it keeps a set apart day, like a Shabbat day, from touching an unclean day. Like what makes a regular day unclean? It's not set apart. So because it's not set apart, it will be an unclean day. So not saying that the day does that make sense?
Yeah, so which side would you say the Sabbath night touches?
Well, so what the evening before, because it's going to be ending the next day. And then as we read, when we read through scriptures there, we see, anything you do that makes you unclean, you're unclean until the evening. So if it is evening doing something unclean, then you're going to have to wait till that next evening. Because it's already evening. So the evening before, I would avoid it. The evening after, the Yom has now just ended. I believe that's when the Shabbat has ended. So you're on to the next day. Not that the night begins the day. It's just separating it.
So the Sabbath night, you can still buy and sell. You just keep the Sabbath day.
Yeah, correct.
I'll have to read it. I haven't read that part yet.
Yeah, no worries. I think it's actually just before this chapter we're reading here.
Can I share quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think when we look into the practicality and like why they were told to be clean for the Shabbat day, like they were going to the temple, they were going in and they needed to be clean. There was priests there, they were serving Yahuah and his esteem was there. And so they needed the day before to not be having sexual relations or even, if a woman was on her period and she's sitting on a chair and someone else sits on that chair, like if you're going to a grocery store the night before and you're using the toilet, you're sitting on it, someone unclean probably touched it before you. Like, it's just like a practicality thing that we probably miss this day and age when there's so much electricity and people are just buying and selling online and doing all this stuff all the time, that we don't already see that in the creation account he set aside and separated the night, like you're saying already. Like, that was already set aside for resting and being with your family, eating, cleaning yourself up and such. So I think when we look into the practicality of why he tells us to do things, it's easier to see than being like, why is he telling us to do this?
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, I agree with what you said there too, Sumi. Probably not a good idea, but not a sin. So, take it to the Father. Truly. All right. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add?
Yeah, it's just on the point of maintaining purity or cleanness. So here it's really common to and probably in America too, to shake everyone's hand and stuff. So the day before Shabbat too, if you want to keep clean, you need to really know who you're keeping around you, as they can be unclean.
Yeah. And, the more you keep yourself from being unclean, the better it is. But yeah. All right. Okay. So, okay, you got a question there, brother? Micah? Yeah, no, I see he's typing. Does having an unclean pet make you unclean for Shabbat? No, I wouldn't say so. If it's not dead, because touching something dead. There you go, Natalie. Yeah. But if they die, you have to bury them, and it does. Yes, correct.
You eating it?
No, not eating it. Yeah, definitely don't eat it. Yeah, being unclean is not a sin, but you just have to be separate outside the camp, which is actually what Numbers 5 here is about to speak about.
Don't eat my dog.
Right. Yeah, sin to go into the temple unclean. Yes, correct. Yeah, so actually Leviticus and Numbers go into a lot of detail about what makes you unclean. And yeah, being unclean is definitely not a sin. Not at all.
Also, Jubilees gives the account of when a woman has either a boy or a girl, how many days she has to wait. We see that with kind of in the gospel accounts when they dedicate their children to the temple. So if she had a boy, she would have to wait. She'd be 40 days, I believe, in her uncleanness. And then I think it was I'm butchering this, I'm sorry. But for a girl, it's twice as many days than would it be if she had a boy. So Eve wasn't allowed into the garden until, 80 days. I need to look it up. But it's the same when she has a child. So when they dedicate their children, they have to wait the amount of days until they're clean by the accounts of Jubilees.
Yeah, I remember reading that too.
That does not make women inferior. It makes them more special.
Oh no, I didn't say that. Yeah, I know. It's just very
No, I
interesting
didn't say
that
you said that, honey. I just wanted to add that because I've heard people in the past, use that to intimate that women are inferior to men. And I'm like, no, they aren't. I saw that as they're just very special. They get that extra time to rest.
we need our rest because our bodies went through something very traumatic. Absolutely.
Yeah. And they need to rest and rejuvenate. So,
Yeah, I agree. Men and women, neither one is inferior or superior above the other. We all have our roles to play, and they're different roles. They're supposed to be supporting roles, is what it is.
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
Truly.
Complementing roles.
Yes, correct. No, all good stuff. Thank you, Miranda.
Yeah, thanks, Miranda.
You're welcome.
All right. So, yeah, exactly, Kim. Men do not have babies. All right. Let me continue here. I'm almost finished. So, give me just a little bit here, and we're almost finished with this. So, Numbers 5:1-3 is actually going to talk about, being outside the camp when you're unclean. So, and Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, "Command the children of Israel to send out of the camp every leper and everyone who has a discharge, everyone who becomes defiled for a being. Send them both, male and female. Send them outside the camp, so that they do not dwell and defile their camps, in the midst of which I dwell." So yeah, we see that discharge, and we just read if you have a discharge of, the stuff, you are unclean. So then you are therefore supposed to be outside the camp. Yes, it did, Sister Sumi. And then we have Jeremiah 17:22. So this is going to be a very interesting one because we're not going to see this written in the quote-unquote 5 books of Torah by Rabbi Akiva, but they are found in Jubilees. So Jeremiah 17:22, "You must not carry a load out of your houses or do any work on the Sabbath day," which is what we just read above there in Jubilees 50. "But you must keep the Sabbath day holy, Kodesh, just as I commanded your forefathers." So what is Jeremiah quoting from? Literally Jubilees 50. Well, here, let me finish reading here. Oh yeah. Yep, exactly, Bobby. That is very true. Sue me. I don't know if that would be the case, But here, let me continue. So many try to claim these verses in Jubilees 50 are quote unquote adding to the Torah, and this can't be farther from the truth. As we can clearly see in Leviticus and Numbers, to be unclean, and the details why, are supporting evidence on why we shouldn't be with our partners in that way on a Sabbath day. We cannot be unclean on a set-apart day, or we have to be outside the camp. In verse 8, we see not to carry a burden from your house on a Sabbath day. So Jubilees 58. This is not found in the Torah at all, but is found only in the book of the prophet Jeremiah 17, solidifying even more the validity. And then in verse 9, it goes into more detail about the cooking and all of that. So the Sabbath is a festival day to Yahuah, and fasting is only permissible when you're doing a 7-day or longer fast for Yahuah. And actually, I need to change that up because we discovered something about that. And actually, I still have that video from Brother Jimmy speaking about that. Very interesting. I'll have to find that and we'll talk about that. But travel on the Sabbath should be considered carefully, and long journeys should be discouraged to prevent violation of Sabbath laws, which emphasize on rest and gathering. And this doesn't mean to say you can't, go and drive to go and fellowship in person somewhere. I don't believe that that's what it's speaking about, because we see Messiah was walking through the fields on the Sabbath days to go fellowship. And resting can also help to maintain the focus on Yahuah during his set-apart day. And the meaning of travel on the Sabbath intertwines with the themes of rest, reflection, and community. It prompts individuals to consider how their choices on this day may affect their spiritual well-being. And a long journey can be tiresome and a lot of work, and doesn't allow for a gathering. But however, there are exceptions, especially in the cases of necessity to worship or to do good works. So for example, those attending an assembly often travel short distances, and that's perfectly fine. We should demonstrate a balance between honoring the Shabbat and fulfilling our obligations to Yahuah by not going on a long journey and resting. And again, whatever you feel convicted on, that's between you and Yahuah. So as we can see, Enoch parallels Jubilees, and Jubilees parallels Enoch, and both of them combine parallel to scriptures and are inspired works. They are the base of the calendar of the Zadok priests found in the Qumran community and the Dead Sea Scrolls. They were removed by secular authority because they didn't fit with their observance of the moon, and were and are still highly discredited for the same reason. This is why they give them that title, Essene. They want to relate these sons of Zadok to just some crazy vegans out in the desert practicing witchcraft. No, those are the ones up over there in Ein Gedi, actually called Essenes. But anyways, let me continue. So those with eyes to see and ears to hear and willing to study the truth will understand this. And let me stop sharing here, and you are free to come back in whenever you're ready there, Sister Marissa.
All right. Let's see. Hold on.
Hey, Jeremy, before we jump
Yeah,
into this, Kayleen has a question that what would be carrying a burden on this Shabbat?
no, I was actually just replying to that. So,
Oh, sorry.
no, it's okay.
Maybe carrying water, or wood or something like that. They would have gone to the well. So what's happened is they haven't prepared themselves for the Sabbath. So they've kind of been a bit lazy. So they sneak off to the well to carry water back to their house when they should have done it the day before, sort of thing.
Yeah, that, or doing
So
any
they
kind.
would have maybe carrying something to sell, perhaps.
Yeah, that as well. I would agree for sure. Anything that's burdensome, or possibly, moving heavy furniture or what have you. I I should probably go and look into that more on what, carrying a burden is and define
I
what.
think that I think that that actually also pertains to your worries and your any kind of irritation for you know what I mean. No arguments. No, I mean the burden of anything that keeps you from him. Would that
Really good
also?
point, Kim. Yeah, I never considered that. Yeah, really good point.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, thank you.
Can you remember a couple of meetings back? I'd gone out for a walk on the Sabbath, and I started to feel a bit sweaty, and then I mentioned that or remembered scripture about how the high priest wasn't even shouldn't even perspire really. So when it comes to physically carrying a burden on the Sabbath, I think that it shouldn't make you sweat personally on a physical level, But I like what you said, Tim, about the burden, worries, and concerns. Yeah, we shouldn't bring them into the Sabbath either, should we? Or any troubles that we've had with our children or wives or family or neighbours or whatever. Yeah, it's good. I like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely a good point there, brother. All right. So, whenever you're ready there, Sister Marissa.
Okay. All right. I'm going to share the screen. Now, I know that you read a couple of this Jubilees one. All right. So going back to, so now we know that Enoch and Jubilees are legit. And so we can read this and like understand like, wow, this is really how it actually is. So Jubilees 2 says, and on the fourth day, he created the sun, moon, and stars and set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon all the earth and to rule over the day and the night and divide them the light from the darkness. And Yahuah appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days and for Sabbaths and for months and for feasts and for years and for Sabbaths of years and for jubilees and for all seasons of the years. And so this is why it is so important to understand the sun's role in Yah's calendar, because the sun is the leader, essentially. I just like to read this opening part of Enoch. The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven, the relations of each, according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world and unto eternity, till the new creation is accomplished, which dureth till eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven, and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in these portals. When I just wanted to explain, like when we read that, we see 6 portals. Oftentimes we think about the menorah. But there are 7 branches on the menorah. So the only place we can see 6 is between the branches. So those are the portals as represented in the menorah. And where was I? And the leaders of the stars and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. Also, many windows to the right and left of these portals. And first, There goes forth the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of the heaven. So Enoch's describing the 6 gates in that, but specifically, it describes the very first day of the calendar in that verse 5. So the sun goes down from heaven, returns through the north in order to reach the east. Or I've heard other versions say traverses northward in order to reach the east. And so that's very like cryptic in a way if you dissect that sentence into, well, what does each part of the sentence mean? But this verse 5 is the starting point of the sun's yearly cycle. And we can know this when we read in Psalms 19. I'll just read the whole thing. The heavens are proclaiming the esteem of El, and the expanse is declaring the work of his hand. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech and there are no words. Their voice is not heard. So these are the luminaries. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he set up a tabernacle for the sun, and it is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. It rejoices like the strong man to run the path, or the race. Its rising is from one end of the heavens, and its circuit to the other, and naught is hidden from its heat. The Torah of Yahuah is perfect, bringing back the being. The witness of Yahuah is trustworthy, making wise the simple. The ordinances of Yahuah are straight, rejoicing the heart. The command of Yahuah is clear, enlightening the eyes. And so the most important sentence here, I feel, is this, and it is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. So that means the sun was set forth on day 4 in his service unto man, and is like the strong man running the path, beginning on that 4th day of the week. He's now come out of the chamber to run the path. So he starts his race on day 4 of the week. But what precedes that, what comes before that, is the sun being in the chamber day. And so I think that is what really connects Enoch 72:5 when it talks about the sun traverses northward in order to return to the east. And so northward being symbolic of that center of the earth, or the center of the firmament, or the throne of Yah. So we're trying to discover here, what day of the year is Enoch 72:5 speaking of? And so some other scriptures to consider when we think about this chamber day. Well, how can we know what the chamber day is? Or how can we know what is that great sign that the sun shows us? So we have a few scriptures here. The first being, consider the work of Yahuah, for who can make straight what he has made crooked? And that makes me think directly about the sun's circuit, is that on the equinox day, we observe a straight line shadow, and then the next day is the curve. Then that next day is the beginning of the sun's service unto man as he's come forth out of the chamber being the day of the straight line, because the chamber is, in fact, Yahuah himself, who sets everything forward from him and everything returns to him. Psalm 5:8 says, lead me, Yahuah, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. And one of my favorites, Mark 1:3, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the master, make his path straight. Matthew 7:14, because strait is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. And so that verse is also very relevant when talking about the land in the north. John 15:5, I am the vine, you are the branches. The one who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. When we think about the way that the menorah is described being made, that center branch is what is created first, and then the six come off of it. So he is the vine, and then we are the branches that stem out from him. And it makes sense when we think of the luminaries being a service unto man and the number of man being 6. So what is the chamber? Enoch 71 says, and he showed me all the secrets of the ends of the heaven, and all the chambers of the stars, and all the luminaries, whence they proceed before the face of the holy ones. And he translated my spirit into the heaven of heavens, and I saw there, as it were, a structure built of crystals, and between those crystals tongues of living fire. And my spirit saw the girdle which girt that house of fire, and on its 4 sides were streams full of living fire, and they girt that house. So what's the house of fire, guys? And round about were seraphim, cherubic, and ophanim, and these are they who do not sleep and guard the throne of his glory. And I saw angels who could not be counted, 1,000 thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000, encircling that house. And Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel and the holy angels who are above the heavens go in and out of that house. And they came forth from that house. So they're going in and out of the throne, essentially. And they came forth from that house, and Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Phanuel, and many holy angels without number. And with them the head of days, his head white and pure as wool, and his raiment indescribable. And I fell on my face, and my whole body became relaxed, and my spirit was transfigured. And I cried with a loud voice, with the spirit of power, and blessed and glorified and extolled. And these blessings which went forth out of my mouth were well pleasing before that head of days. And that head of days came with Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Phanuel, thousands and 10,000s of angels without number. There's so much written in there that you could really dissect this whole thing. But what I find it interesting is that if we're talking about a chamber day in which the sun comes out of, and then the 4 seasons of the year, I just picked up on this, that last sentence, and the head of days came with these 4 angels. So I'm looking at that like, wow, like that he is the throne, he is in the midst, he is the center, and everything comes forth from him. And there's a lot of language in Enoch too, when it's talking about the stars, it sounds like an army. Also, oh yeah, and that was the other thing I picked up on, was about the Lord of Hosts. We hear Yah being referred to that, the Lord of Hosts, but then we also hear the hosts of heaven when it's talking about the luminaries. So I know Jeremy read this earlier, and I'm like, come on, you're jumping ahead of me. But
It's review.
it's a review. We're reviewing this. Daniel 7:9-10. I was looking until thrones were placed, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like clean wool. His throne was flames of fire, its wheels burning fire. A stream of fire was flowing and coming forth from his presence, and 1,000 thousands served him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judge was seated, and the books were opened. And I love this depiction too, because now, in considering Yah being what everything comes forth from and returns to, we can see he saying, I'm looking until thrones were placed and the Ancient of Days was seated. So he comes in first. He is that chamber day that's being described in Psalm 19. Enoch 47:3, in those days I saw the head of days when he seated himself upon the throne of his esteem. And the books of the living were opened before him, and all his hosts, which is in the Shamayim above, and his counselors stood before him. So the throne is what was created first. That is Yah's dwelling place. It is the inner chamber. It is the sanctuary. It is the oracle. It is the center of all things, from which his word proceeds out from. So we must remember at the bottom, Yah's set apart place of his throne and the soles of his feet is in the north/northward. And we see that in Ezekiel 8 and 43. The head of days is the OTOT, or the sign himself. So those Hebrew letters there are the letters for sign. And we went over that in the previous presentation, breaking down each of those letters and what they mean. But in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they even talk about this OTOT sign, or OT, however you want to say it. This is the great sign. And it occurs on the day of the straight line shadow and is set apart from the curve of time, just as he is. Before all things and by him all matters are established. This is the day spoken of in Enoch 72:5, that the sun moves northward and simultaneously returns to the east, preceding the 1 through 364 day count, the 4 seasons of 91 days that begin in verse 6. So Yah is the head of days himself. He is the great sign, and the sun makes that straight line shadow where he is the Aleph and the Tav. So he is the beginning and the end of all things. So this straight line is like, yes, the previous year has now been filed and the next year is to begin. He is that 365/0 day. Okay, John 8. Yahusha answered, if I esteem myself, my esteem is none at all. It is my Father who esteems me, of whom you say that he is your Elohim. And you have not known him, but I know him. And if I say I do not know him, I shall be like you, a liar. But I do know him, and I guard his word. Your father Abraham was glad that he should see my day, and he saw it and did rejoice. Just some food for thought on that, what my day means there. And just like anything else in scripture, there's multiple layers of meaning. Okay, in Ezra 6, then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. And this visual here is when I went through like explaining in one of our previous fellowships. So I basically overlaid the analemma with the menorah and showed how north is upward and south is downward, and I put that little mountain in the middle for Mount Zion. All right, I thought to include this slide again as I did in the previous one, so that you guys can see essentially how the OTOT sign works in the calendar. So we can see on the left with that first gold emblem that there's Yah and his throne and him at the beginning of all things. And in the darkness, he said, let there be light. So his throne, his dwelling place was already there above the face of the earth, the face of the deep. And so he is that preeminence, and everything else comes forth from him. And so you can see that number 1 as the first day of creation, number 2, number 3. So we got days 1 through 3. And then on day 4, he sets forth the sun as the bridegroom coming from the chamber. on its path of its service unto men. And so the 364-day count starts there and loops all the way around. That black is the first year and loops all the way around. And we get to day 3 of the week, day 364 of the year. And the following day is the great sign, is the chamber day, is the head of days, is Yah himself. All the luminaries have now returned to him at the end of the year, and then they proceed forth from him to start the year the day after. And so then we got the second year in blue, and then the third year in green. And at the bottom of this picture here, I have the breakdown of the Hebrew letters for that word sign. We have the Aleph, meaning first or beginning, and we have the Tav, meaning last and ending. But what's in the middle is the Vav. So the Vav means to hook or to bind together, to connect or fasten. So we can see right here how Yahuah is the Vav himself in between the end of the old year and the beginning of the new. So this is the sign, is that straight line. And that is the day that is between the last day of gate 3 and the first day of gate 4. And so when we look at that menorah, we can't visualize it any other way than those spaces in between are the portals, and that center branch, that straight line, the vine that the branches protrude out from, is Yahuah himself. So I have Jubilees 1:9 in the bottom. And Yahuah appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days and for Sabbaths, for months and for feasts and years, and Sabbaths of years, and for Jubilees and for all seasons of the years. So the sun's path at the North Pole is very telling for us. The North Pole, as we know it, the sun behaves very differently from what we experience at lower latitudes. Or, we're like, I don't want to say like on the outskirts, but we're, on the outside of the north when we think about that biblical earth model and the north being in the center. So in the north, the sun moves along a circular path along the horizon. And so say you were sitting on a spinning chair and you were staring at the sun, you could spin all the way around 360 degrees and watch the sun the entire way. So it moves along the horizon. There's no up and down. It goes around at the north, rather than rising in the east and setting in the west. So for 6 months, though, the sun remains entirely below the horizon. So people will not see it in the North Pole. They would, depending on the month of the year, essentially see like a shining coming, kind of like, we experience before the sun rises, but the sun will not rise. They will just see its light. And then for the following 6 months, the sun will stay completely above the horizon. At first glance, this seems impossible since the horizon meets our eyes at a seemingly level plane, even when viewed from the altitude of an airplane. Yet at the north, Mount Zion stretches to the heavens and towers far above the sun's path. From this esteemed vantage point, the extraordinary movements of the sun can be seen, revealing the exact day that the sun has moved northward in its cycle. And so it's, I read that and I can hear that question being begged. Yeah, but, we're not in the north and we're not going to see that. I know. But that is the significance of Enoch 72:5. The sun has traversed northward in order to return to the east. We're going to see that sign of the sun returning to the east at 90 degrees east. And that day it sets 270 degrees west and makes that straight line shadow. That is the sign for us that we can see. But because we have programs like Stellarium, we can visualize the sun's path returning northward in the analemma when it finally comes above the horizon. And that day that it is completely above the horizon happens simultaneously on the day that we will see the straight line shadow. Psalm 125, they that trust in Yahuah shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abides forever. As the mountains are round about Jerusalem, so Yahuah is round about his people from henceforth, even forever. Yahuah's set apart place in the north, positioned in the midst of Yasharal, is a location where the passing away of days, seasons, and years can be observed in a unique way. The chamber day, which follows after the 364th day of the year, is when the sun has traversed to the north in order to reach the east. So I have the solar analemma on the right there. And I've had quite a few pictures of the analemma throughout the presentation, and the angle of it depends on where you are on Earth. Just like when you're looking up at the night sky, Polaris may look further away in the distance for some, but it might look more overhead for others. So on the 364th day of the solar year in the north, the sun reaches a precise position half above and half below the horizon, which is the 0-degree line. So we'll look at the first picture here. I'm on year 2024. That 0-degree line is right in the center, and the sun is completely below it on March 17th. And again, this is the view of the sun from the north. And so if like you were on Stellarium in these screenshots, if I moved the minute up, the sun will traverse along the horizon and stay below that 0-degree line on March 17th here. But we can see in 2024, on March 18th, on day 364 of the year, the sun is half up, half below the horizon, which I don't, it probably does not mean this in Enoch where it says the sun is 9 parts on day 364, but I did find that an interesting coincidences. And are there ever any coincidences? You know, probably not. So then we have on 2024, the great sign. This is the equinox day. The sun has now traversed northward in its analemma, in its entire circuit. It's above the 0-degree line there. It's on that line in the east. And this is the day that that straight line shadow will be seen. So that is the great sign day, meaning the next day, it would be the day 1 of 364, would be the day after this. The equinox day marks the fleetness of the old year and the establishment of the new year. On this day, many on the earth will observe the straight line shadow, a great sign to Yasharel. In this way, the sun returns to the east, and the following day begins its next circuit along the curve of time at the renewal of the solar year. And so I thought about this a lot, like, well, where does the 24-hour circuit of the sun begin? Like, where is the actual solar day? Is there a way that we can figure out what the starting point is on the circle of the earth that the sun's above, you know, circling around? And so I looked into that some more. Just want to read a few of these scriptures. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change, nor shadow of turning. That's like, ooh, like gut punch. With whom there is no change, nor shadow of turning. So shadow of turning, I'm thinking of that, the curved shadow on day 1 of the year. But Yahuah himself, on his day, there is no shadow of turning. It's straight. Deuteronomy 11:12. a land which Yahuah your Elohim looks after. The eyes of Yahuah your Elohim are always on it, from the beginning of the year to the latter end of the year. The sun makes one full circuit across the sky every 24 hours, creating a single solar day. However, the Gregorian date at any moment depends on where a person is located along that circuit. Understanding this makes it entirely possible for Yah's people to worship him on the Sabbaths and feasts, united at the same moment within the same solar day. And so we all know that the Gregorian calendar is the facade. It's overlaid, and it is what has taken the focal point, if you will, for the division of time. But we are called to come out of her, my people, and try to understand Yahuwah's division of time. And so where the world has placed these Gregorian dates are incorrect to what the actual 24-hour solar day is. And because they're incorrect, what it does is it disallows all of us to worship Yah on the same Sabbath day and feast days. It's meant to divide us from that. How incredibly profound would it be if everybody across the earth were celebrating Yah's Sabbath day together? Of course they would want to hide that. And so I looked at all of the time zones across the earth and the equinox day per these time zones. So the day of the straight line shadow. And so we have on the right side of the map here, all of these locations will observe the straight line shadow on March 20th of 2026. And thus making 3/21 day one of the new year. However, on the left side of the map, all of these places will observe the straight line shadow on March 21st.
Hold on. Let me get the bottom so you're listening to this.
Somebody has to mute.
Sumi, mute.
Oh, am I on?
Oh, are you?
Yes,
Sorry.
you are.
If we're
No worries.
Yep, we're on there.
So on the left side of the map, these people will observe that straight line shadow on March 21st of 2026. When it is March 21st for these people on the left, it will be March 20th for us on the right. And I say us because I'm on the right. But we have people in this fellowship that come from all over the world, and that's the significance in figuring this out. Like, when is the 24-hour solar day? And we know that there is one day that the sun's going to make that straight line. And so thus, we can see that change in date. Both of these are happening simultaneously, but this is how it happens, is that so day one of the new year for us being March 21st is going to occur at the same time as March 22nd will occur for the people on the left. And so, before I read this, don't look at it. So Jermaine asked a really interesting question last night where she said, how many daylight hours will we share together on the Sabbath? So for an example, because she was on the left side of that map and where most of us are on the right side of that map. And so today's fellowship started at 1 o'clock Central Time where I am, but for her, it began at 5:30, her 5 o'clock her time, sorry. And so her and I are 8 hours apart. So her day was just starting. I was in the middle of my day, and I believe Ken was towards the end of his day, but we are all seeing the same daylight hours at the same time. We're experiencing this one moment together, this Sabbath day together, and able to commune and come together and worship Yah collectively, regardless of my calendar says whatever today is, the 7th of December, and hers might say the 8th. It doesn't matter. It's the same moment in time. And we're able to know that by seeing when that straight line shadow occurs for each of us. And so the answer to her question was because we're in the winter now, it gets dark around 4:30. So that's only 3 hours of daylight for us here that we're going to share with Jermaine at the beginning of her day, essentially. And so the amount of daylight hours that we share is going to shift throughout the year, but it's the winter now, so these are the shortest days of the year for us. And so everybody has asked about the leap year, and we are able to visualize the leap year by looking at what the sun is doing in the north as well. And so it's important to always begin the year on the day after the great sign and to number our days from there. We can see when the true leap year occurs in the north because there will be a second day that the sun is on the horizon line or the 0 degree line. These years will not align with the leap years on the Gregorian calendar. And so I'll explain that last sentence in a second. But if we look at the image on the left, we see day 364 of our current yearly count. So it's showing March 18th of 2026 is day 364, the third day of the week. And then the leap year occurs the next day. So we will not see the straight line shadow on the 19th of March in 2026 because it's the leap year. And thus, the day after, on March 20th, we will observe the great sign, that straight line shadow. And this, again, is for those of us who were on the right side of that map. And for those who were on the left side of the map, you would want to add a date to the Gregorian calendar here. So essentially, 321 will be the great sign over in Australia. And so it's important to note that these years will not align with the leap years on the Gregorian calendar. And that's why when you have seen the cycle of years chart, it looks like 2 years start on the 20th and 2 years start on the 21st. But it's only because the Gregorian leap year is not aligned with the solar leap years. And so I have that here. Again, these are all the dates for those of us on the right side of that map. And so the leap years are in the green. And so we can see that for 2026. I have some outdated terms here. The leap year is in the column in the green, and then the column to the right of that is the great sign day. And so if we look at day 1 to Kufa, the fourth column from the right, you'll see that for 2 years, we're starting our year on March 20th, and then for 2 years, we're starting it on March 21st. But again, this is because the Gregorian leap year does not align with the solar leap year. So the dates do not appear as like 3 years are one and 1 year is the other. It's only because of that extra day that they add to the Gregorian calendar. So it misaligns it like that. But understand that these Gregorian dates, they are the facade. And so we have to look past that and not get hung up on those numbers. because Yah's calendar is determined by the luminaries. Enoch 5:2 says, and all his works go on thus from year to year, forever. So he is infinite. And all the tasks which they accomplish for him and their tasks change not. But according as Elohim hath ordained, so it is done. Yahuah is the general of the army, and he sets forth the hosts of heaven from his chamber. They're waiting on his cue, just as the priests wait on the high priest. They're waiting on his cue. And so this picture was created by Natalie. It is not filled in for the Gregorian dates. It is just showing the layout of the calendar, but in understanding that the great sign will be the day of the spring equinox or the straight line shadow. And I know that she has some made up with the dates for those of us on the right side of the map and the dates for those of us on the left side of the map. And I'm sure she'd be happy to share those. And I believe that is the end of the presentation. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you. Truly amazing and mind-blowing information, honestly.
Awesome.
I'll go ahead, brother.
Excellent as always, Marissa. Thank you very much. That was wonderfully done.
Yeah, the visuals are so cool.
Yeah, no, everybody loves it. Yeah, those visuals definitely amazing and super helpful. And it's so beautiful because we are all on that same Shabbat day. No matter what the Gregorian date may say, we're still observing Shabbat all on that same day. Truly, truly amazing.
Have you got is there in the library a tab of all these of the presentations?
Yeah, actually, so Natalie had made one with all her slides in it, and Marissa just sent a PDF of her slideshow there as well. And then we also have our fellowship video tab, so it'll have all this, like the whole video here too.
Yeah, cool. I want to get my brother-in-law and the family like I used to live with. They're like in Torah, but they're still on Saturday Shabbat, I think. So like trying to get them to look into this calendar.
Yeah, there's Natalie just forwarded the link there for the printable calendar and the graphics. Thank you, sister, and amazing work by the way, truly.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest bombshell, is to realize that we are all united in Yah, and we are the body. And this deception of time that is the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar, all these different calendars that have been promoted, just takes us away from that ability of all of us coming together and singing praises to Yah and worshiping him all at the same time. If we think about just the energy that comes forth from singing his praises, what is even that frequency, that is, our prayers are an incense to Yah. He dwells with us when two or more of us are gathered together. And so it's huge to be able to understand that there is only one solar day that occurs, and to wipe the windshield off and clear the view and be able to see like, oh yeah, we are all together, and we all can be on the same Sabbath day together if we recognize that the luminaries are Yah's true calendar.
Yes, beautiful. Very well said and very powerful.
I had said I don't know, a couple discussions ago, whatever, when we were talking about the shared time of on the solar cycle, right? The shared time in a day between the first half and the second half, or left and right, or whatever it is. That has there's got to be a key. There's something to that whatever hours that we share within another part of the world with like Sabbath. So if we were looking for like the return, or we were looking,
Yeah.
for something ever, I would think that we'd pay attention to the hours that we share with the rest of the world. And it's a small window, but it would be something to pay attention to.
Yeah, so like right now we're sharing 3 hours of daylight with Jermaine, and then I looked at near the biblical New Year, we'll be sharing 6 hours of daylight between the two parts of the world.
Right.
Yeah, really amazing. All praise to the Most High Yahuwah. And you can only truly get a full understanding if you know and understand, our realm that we live in, and know that we're not on a spinning ball in a vacuum. Really, really, that's the number one thing, honestly, because that will hinder your understanding of the importance of the North.
Yeah.
Yeah, since knowing about flat Earth and like true cosmology, it led me to like Torah and so many more truths.
Yeah, no, it's a very important part of understanding, and understanding how we've been lied to about literally everything. Our history, our past, where we live, all of these things. What's in the North, what's in the South. They hide it all. But no, very, very well done. All praise to the Most High, Yahuwah, for showing you these things, Sister Marissa.
Yeah,
Amazing.
hallelujah.
And when we learn and understand these things, so much more pops out when we read scriptures as well. Like the no turning shadow. And then I just picked the menorah because the menorah is designed right after that. It literally represents exactly that. And just the connections and how deep it goes. And honestly, it makes me want to cry. It's so beautiful and amazing. All praise to the Most High.
Yeah, Jeremy, I think I was talking to you when I was putting that together with the dates and realizing that. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And like just realizing that like the deeper picture or the bigger picture of it being like, this is the deception, so that we are all like segregated and separated and divided and not worshiping Yah on the same dates. Like that's huge. So to be able to realize that and come to that understanding, and realizing like what the anchor points are of the calendar and how it relates to him, that is that is everything.
It truly is. All praise to you who can't say it enough. It's so amazing. Yeah, that deception, it runs very deep. And I probably said it before, I know I have, but it's just a giant spider web of lies with Satan right there at the center. And it's a web of lies to cover up the truth of Yahuwah. And yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything about the calendar, feel free to ask. Now's the best time, honestly. Oh boy. Starting the spider stuff again, huh?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that.
We love you, Miranda.
Yeah.
And
Love y'all
I was,
too.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I was praying for you. I heard you got snowed in there for a bit on your trip you took.
Thank you. Yeah, we were in Minnesota, visiting my husband's family. We do it every other year. And we were supposed to come back and Shabbat with Marissa and Sophia, and we were not able to. So, Iowa, which is like 5 hours that we have to travel to get to Minnesota, the most majority of our trip, got like 8 to 12 inches of snow. So we decided to just not leave, and we're pretty much snowed in for the weekend. But yeah, well, we're back now, and we're all good.
Praise Yah. Yeah, we missed you, sister. Absolutely.
Oh, I missed you guys too.
Oh, came through Iowa and didn't visit Natalie, huh?
Oh, well, were you snowed in, Natalie, for a while? I mean, I think all of Iowa got snowed in.
That wouldn't have happened if they would have kept up with the roads.
Yeah, there's that too. Got a 4x4. Yep, me as well. They're always great to have. Even though we don't really ever get snow here in Phoenix, but yeah, no, we're all here for each other, 100%. And that's what fellowship is all about. You know, the enemy likes to attack hard, especially on Shabbat days. So, no, we are overcomers, and I pray a hedge of protection around all who are struggling, going through it.
Greg, we were in Lakeville, Minnesota, visiting my husband's family. I don't know where Big
Awesome.
Lake is. Yeah, is that close to Big Lake?
I believe Lakeville, southeast Minnesota, right?
I believe so, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm 50 miles north of Minneapolis.
Oh, okay. It gets cold there so quickly. When we traveled from Missouri to Minnesota, the temperature dropped like 40 degrees. It was crazy, the difference between Missouri and Minnesota.
Yeah, we'll be ice fishing soon.
That sounds fun, actually. I love to fish. I've never actually been ice fishing, though. We don't have enough snow here in Arizona to do that. Awesome. What you got going on there, Sister Natalie? Yeah.
So every year there's a farm in Iowa that puts on a music festival. So it's kind of like the Hebrew Fest thing that's going on in Missouri, but this one's in Iowa. So if anyone wants to come up and go to it, you can camp up there and we'll see you there.
Ooh, what time of the year?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. That sounds
It's
very
in
interesting.
June.
Oh, nice. Miranda, we should consider that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like messianic and, traditional, but If we're all there, we don't have to pay attention to that part.
Yeah, there you go.
Man, that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun time. They have lots of games for the children, and everyone just kind of hangs out. So,
Is it on someone's private property?
yeah, it's on our friend's farm. So everyone just kind of like camps in their little camping spots, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. Okay. Wonderful. When did they start doing that?
I think this will be their 9th year coming up.
Wonderful. Okay. So they pretty
Yeah.
much got it, yeah, pretty organized, but yet at the same time letting the Ruach lead.
Yeah,
Sounds,
for sure.
oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, that sounds fun, actually. Meet up all together there.
Yeah, when the weather's nice. Yes,
Yep,
for sure.
exactly.
Mm.
I'm already planning on that trip to Missouri, our equinox party, our equinox tracking, I should say.
That's gonna be amazing.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, be ready for us, Marissa and Bobby. Hey, no worries, Sister Audrey. Shabbat Shalom to you, and much love to you, sister. Thank you for joining. Yeah, no, it would be great just to meet up and really anywhere. But yeah, the Iowa one, going there to Missouri in March. I told Callan about that when when you sent those videos of all your birds there. He was like, "Oh, I want to go see them all." Yeah, make an address tab, but that could be a good and a bad thing, though, sister. I know Jermaine said was it you, Jermaine, that was saying you were working on some kind of like a Google Pin type thing? Was it you or somebody else? I don't remember. My apologies. She's probably milking the goats. Oh, okay, there you are. Ah, yeah, no, I have to do a lot of things on my desktop as well because it's just the phone doesn't let you do it. It's strange. And speaking of that, did you have another psalm that you wanted to read? If you're not busy at the moment?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just having breakfast or getting breakfast ready, and then if you guys are still going, yeah, just give me some time, please.
Yeah, no worries. We'll definitely keep it going. What about a song from Marissa? How about that? If you're able to. Oh, she's busy. No worries. Yeah, does anybody have like any questions or anything they'd like to talk about or any praise reports or anything that we can pray for you about? No worries, Marissa. I, Yeah, absolutely, sister. I will be keeping you in my prayers. I always pray for you and your family. Oh, you have a praise
Yeah,
report. Great. Awesome.
I was just gonna say, I was meant to have surgery on Friday and it got postponed like again for this second time now. So like yeah, I was meant to get all my metal work out of my back on Friday, and that's been postponed much. So just sort of like let's changed all my plans and stuff. So yeah, just that's what's new with me, but I have anything new.
Yeah, no, I will definitely keep you in prayer as well, brother. And yeah, anytime you go for surgery or anybody goes for surgery, it's really it's nerve-wracking. It's what it is. So I'm definitely praying healing, a hedge of protection around you, and that Yahuah shines his face and his countenance upon you.
Hey, Lachlan, if you get it done in March at Passover time, then you can't come visit, maybe, or you'll be okay to visit still. Come for Passover.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, to be honest, it'll probably just get postponed again. It got postponed in September, I think it was, or the month after, and then and then postponed again. So we'll see. But yeah, I'll probably be out for a couple of weeks. So yeah, we'll see. That's probably why. It's just spiritual warfare.
Well, hopefully it'll still work out.
Yeah.
It's definitely spiritual warfare, 100%. I'm praying for you, brother.
Yeah. It's just, frustrating because you like plan around something to like happen and then it gets delayed and then, yeah.
Because you got that fire of Yahuah in you, brother. All those posts about the straight up truth. You know, the enemy doesn't like the truth being exposed. So he especially, tries to attack us, especially all of us, and specifically in this group too. A lot of us have been going through these trials and tribulations and things like that. But Yahuah is right there next to us, and he will give us the strength and the endurance to be able to make it through all of this. And yeah, if anybody needs prayers about anything, I would definitely walk through the prayer with you. Sue me. Yeah, praise Yahuah. All praise to the Most High. And yeah, Micah, if you wanted to go ahead and, unless you want me to read it. Here, I'll just read it. So Micah was told Friday that they want to hire him full time sooner than the 90-day probation period. Praise Yah. No,
Woohoo!
that's good. And I know we're not
Missed
supposed to.
that. Yeah, Mike goes like quiet and then loud for me.
It's my phone sometimes. It does that on my computer. It's weird. Gotta love technology, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries, brother. No worries. And yeah, I have a somewhat praise report, I guess. And I guess it requires some prayer, but And I know we're not supposed to talk about work, and that's not why I'm bringing it up. It's just to bring a faith report. But a brother who's also a believer offered me to do a job with him for a couple weeks, and it's really good money. So I just wanted to ask for prayers for that as well, and not to bring it up on a Shabbat though. So
Praying. That's awesome though, Jeremy.
thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I have a praise report.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So, you guys know my interest in the little season. And for those that have been here since the very beginning, you guys know that I love to ask questions. I love to look into it. I've been trying to gather as much scripture as I can about it. Our many talks about this subject has, raised questions as to if the millennial reign really did happen, where are the writings from it, and last week, or was it the week before, I stumbled onto a 8-month-old study. And in that study, I was just kind of trying to get ready for the day, and I was just barely listening to it. And there's these 3 guys talking. It's kind of like a podcast. And this one guy had mentioned that he has found writings from witnesses during the millennial reign. And the reason why some of these have gotten out is because when you go to the Vatican and request things from the archive, you have to have like a certain level of clearance. They don't just let anybody get these. So there are professors that have gotten approved and have written little snippets from the restricted archives from the Vatican. And this guy on the video has compiled a whole bunch of data on it. And I'm currently going through the PDF and looking at most of these accounts, and they are fantastic and amazing.
And it's definitely going along with everything that we see to be truth. There's no contradictions so far.
Can you link that PDF? Please?
Yes, I will. And yes, Micah, it's called Hagiography. I can't pronounce it, but never heard that term before. And it is a term, and it is fantastical. Absolutely.
Fantastical.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to get to the library and try to get this printed off. There's like Miranda, the guy shared 3 PDFs. Yeah, I want to get them all printed off. We don't know how long it is though, but Miranda, you said you're about a little more than halfway through the first one, correct?
Yeah, there's so much compiled in it. And like I said, these are just little snippets of some of the writings that was granted to some of these scholars. Again, not just anybody could go in there and be like, I request this. They'll be like, okay, where's your clearance? So it's definitely not open to the public, and most of it is extremely restricted. But the dates are very, very interesting when it comes to when these texts weren't available to the public anymore to read, and it was around the 1538 time that we like, can kind of relate to. So yes, I don't mind sharing the PDF. I don't know, Jeremy, am I able to share it in the Yahuah Fellowship?
Yeah, no, share it and put it in that Little Season of Deception tab too, in that
Okay.
in the library group. Yeah, share it.
Okay. Jeremy, I did send it to you. I sent you the first one.
Oh yeah, that's right, you did.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot. It's so much. It's taken me a week to just get through half of it. But yeah, it's awesome. And I'll also share the video where they're talking about it. Just beware of JT follows JC. He is kind of mainstream Christian, so when they're talking about these, he has a hard time when they're talking about the feast, because he's like, that was done away with. So he comes from a very mainstream Christian view when it comes to still keeping the feast and everything. He thinks that those wouldn't have happened during the millennial reign, but just kind of disregard that and look at what this guy is sharing. They share some of the snippets in this PDF that he made up, and it's really great. And I will link that video right now, and then I'll follow up with the PDF.
Awesome. Thank you, sister. We'll have
Yes,
to,
but it's just been an answer to prayer, because this is what I've been searching for a really long time.
praise Yahuah. We'll have to schedule something up if you want to talk about it.
Yes.
Everybody would love to hear.
Yes.
Hey, Ashley, Shabbat Shalom. Glad you could make it. Yeah, no, everybody would love to hear about that, including me. And it just goes so deep, so many of these connections, and then especially with the calendar, the importance of the North, so many things. It's so deep as well. Like, it blows my mind, honestly.
Do you guys want to hear just a tiny little part of it?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, sweetie, read what you were reading to me this morning. I mean, not the whole thing. We'd be here a long time because we were at it for like an hour and a half. But
We were on the phone for 2.5 hours this morning, Mom, going over it.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Repository, Vatican Secret Archives, Amerium IV. Fully restricted, referenced in Cardinal Baronnesis private papers. Okay, so I'm going to be totally butchering some of these because a lot of them have Latin talk in it. Okay, but just hang in there with me. Cited in Athanasius Kircher's private correspondence in 1652 from Pontifical Gregorian University Archives. Okay. Relevant text as quoted by Kircher. The manuscript predicts, when exactly 1,000 years have elapsed since the enemy was bound in darkness, the heavens shall display unprecedented lights in the northern regions for 49 days. These lights shall receive the gradual withdrawal of the sanctuary city as the transformed ones prepare for the dragon's release. Patterns in these lights will reveal armies gathering, structures ascending, and vessels of the saints departing from the physical realm. This celestial display shall be visible across all northern lands, signifying that the millennium of relative peace has concluded and the brief season of the enemy's final deception has commenced. Corroborating elements. Both sources describe an extraordinary aura displays in 1539, exactly 1,000 years after the 536-539 AD events, lasting around 7 weeks, with specific patterns resembling armies, cities, and aerial vessels. The restricted source frames that this as a prophesied event marking the end of the millennium, while the accessible source confirms the event occurred exactly as predicted, but presents it without explicit astrological framing.
Wow.
And this is just one of those sections in there. I want to try to find the one. Let's see if I can.
The mentioning of what's going on in the north there as well.
Yes, there's so much talk about the North. When I say like to a T, it really fits in perfectly with everything we've been learning about the North. And like I said, to me, it's almost like this has not come to my, appreciation, until now, because we had to know like what the North was. And it's just, it's really starting to fit really well. But I read a part to my mom earlier, and I don't know if I screenshotted it. Let me see. And it talks about basically how when Satan was released, that there was a chokehold on everything that had happened during the millennial reign, and like the dispersion of like deception that quickly followed. Let me see if I can find it.
Definitely fascinating, honestly. Yeah, while you look for that, I've actually on YouTube when I'm scrolling through a lot of these, what bells were used for has been coming up, in the Tartarian times, I guess, with Tartaria, the mudfloods, all that. And it all has to do with, these frequencies or cymatics and things like that.
Yeah, and it also helps to kill the parasites that are in the body.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, it all speaks to the word of Yahuah. He spoke everything into existence. It was those cymatics that created everything. Everything has a vibration, and it all connects. It's truly mind-blowing. Some people will probably think we're crazy for even talking about it, but, you got to have understanding. Yeah, so much happened at that time.
So somebody in the chat asked what I was reading from. It's a PDF from a study that I watched on YouTube. There's this guy who compiled a whole PDF of things that he has found from other writings that reference stuff that has been found in the Vatican archives in the restricted area pertaining to the millennial reign and then the little season. And then the accounts of the glorified saints that people witnessed during that time. And I went ahead and did I put that in there? Yes. So what I did is I attached the video from YouTube where they're talking about it. They show some of it. And then I'll also add the PDF to the chat that has all this in there, and it's really amazing to go through. It's really hard to get away from. But there's so many accounts, and they correspond with each other. And this is from people all over the world that saw and witnessed some of these things. Okay, I found the other one if you guys want me to read this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Repository, Benedine Abbey of Christamunder, and I'm really butchering that, from Austria, removed to the Vatican in 1545. Accessibility fully restricted, known through references. So this is only available because somebody else who had access to it referenced it into their writings. It's cited by Jacob Boehm in his private manuscripts in 1620. Relevant text quoted by Boehm, the manuscript predicts when the 1,000 years of Satan's binding conclude, calculated as 1536 to 1540, knowledge preserved by the transformed saints shall begin withdrawal from human access. Those who attempt to maintain technologies from the millennial age shall be vigorously prosecuted by both astrological and secular powers suddenly freed from restraining influences. A physician from the Swiss lands shall briefly recover significant portions of this knowledge through both spiritual revelation and examination of ancient texts, experiencing meteoric rise following by equally swift suppression. His followers shall be specifically targeted during the years of 1538 through 1542 as the enemy works through established authorities to eliminate evidence of the millennial's achievements. Corroborating elements. Both sources identify 1536 and 1540 as a period when hidden knowledge would briefly emerge before systematically being suppressed. The accessible source is Paralysis' own prediction about the timing of this knowledge suppression, while the restricted source purposely predicted Paralysis' role of centuries before his birth, placing his work in context of the millennial knowledge withdrawal. And I mean, again, like it shows that when he got released. I mean, it was just, he was on a rampage to just wipe everything that had happened while he was bound away.
Yeah. We could see the evidence of that as well. Just, yeah. Wow. That's truly amazing, honestly.
Yeah, and I have so many other this one's very interesting. If I can just read this last one, and then I'll let everybody else go.
No, go ahead.
Okay, repository from the British Library. This was published by Peter Happ in 1996. The dissolution of monasteries under King Henry resulted in the most catastrophic loss of ancient learning since the burning of Alexandria's library. Having personally witnessed this destruction, I can attest that far more precious manuscripts were lost than preserved. Most troubling, the pattern of destruction seemed to target specific categories of text rather than proceeding randomly. Works containing ancient technological knowledge, historical chronicles covering the period after Emperor Justinian, geographical treaties concerning northern regions, and astronomical calculations were among those most frequently reported as missing before the government agents even arrived. When questioned, many monks admitted removing certain texts on orders from superiors unknown to us, suggesting a coordinated effort transcending the English situation. Similar patterns of targeted manuscript disappearance occurred simultaneously in reformed lands of Germany and Switzerland, indicating a systematic removal of specific knowledge across the national and confessional boundaries during the years 1536 and 1541.
Wow. My jaws dropped. Really.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one was very telling.
Wow. Yeah, everybody's asking, please share it in the
Oh, okay,
thread.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me link it. I'm going to link it.
Yeah, no worries. We're definitely gonna have to schedule something up and you could talk about that more.
I know,
You have a
yeah, and
knowledge,
like, huh?
say you have a lot of knowledge on that area and it's amazing. I love it. Thank you, sister.
Oh, of course. It's like I said, it's everyone has their talents, right? And this is one that really just, I guess, speaks to me. I really love it. I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. All praise to the Most High Yahuah. Yeah, I agree, Marissa. Definitely got to do something like that. Or even, a Sabbath fellowship about it as well. We did it before.
Is the PDF in that video, or is Miranda sharing it?
Yeah, is it in the
Okay.
video?
So I tried to find the PDF in the video from YouTube. You can't click on it. YouTube restricted it. So, understanding conspiracy, if anybody watches YouTube, I have a ton of people that I'm subscribed to. I like to listen to all different kinds of outlooks when it comes to the little season. But understanding conspiracy is kind of a big one. And he is the one that he started a Telegram, and he linked these in his Telegram group in one of the pins called Hagiography. And I know I'm saying that wrong, but I don't know how else to say it. Because that's what this is called. I guess the writings of the saints is called the Hagiography. I'm really butchering that. Can anybody say it better?
I can't help you there, sister. Sorry.
Okay. They can't make words easy.
It's hagiography.
Hagiography. Thank you. Who said that?
That was Micah, I believe. Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, it's a little tongue twisting.
that it is. No, that's awesome.
Yes, and you do know it's the truth when YouTube restricts it. When I watched this video, I was calling my mom every like 5 minutes. And I was like, I have to watch this with you. And we watched it with James, and I sent it to Marissa, and I think I sent it to you too, Jeremy. And then linked the PDF in it because I was like on a rampage because I was like, they have to have it. I need this. um,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, so I had to become a part of their Telegram group. I had to go through like, I guess with everything, you have to go for like a probationary period so they don't think you're cray cray. And then I got accepted and went to their tab once I did, and they had all of the documents. So this is the first doc. Let me get it's the longest. And then there's 2 more docs, which I haven't even gotten to yet, and those are a little bit shorter. I plan on trying to print all of this off because I want to highlight stuff. I want to reference scripture with it because there's a lot of things that stick out, like I said, that really hasn't given me worry that indicates that it's not true. And like I said, because of what we've learned about the North,
Yeah,
this
it goes
just,
hand in hand
it
with the
really
North.
does. Like I
Oh
said,
my
like
gosh,
it
it
just,
does.
it blew my mind. It continues to blow my mind. Something even more, I mean, just mind blowing for you guys that know that, the camp of the saints is there in the North. When Satan was bound, and it says that he was, seal was put upon him. I never really understood like what that meant. I thought like maybe it was like a mark or whatever, but literally he was sealed under Mount Zion. And it says that in some of these accounts that, so, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. He was sealed under the camp of the saints. And
Wow.
yeah, again, like how can you get more poetic than that? So when he was released, that's the, that's what I'm thinking is New Jerusalem going back up into the celestial realm temporarily. That's what released him. And that's what they were planning, that's what they knew was coming. And so I'm telling you, it talks about how there are mountains and islands that were removed from their places and put back together. And when he's released, the water rises again so that you can't go to these places that used to be available for people to pilgrimage through. I mean, it goes through so much. And my face is really red because I just, it's so amazing. But
No, when you said that, so we just read not this last Enoch study, but the one before. It talks about Mount Zion and how there's a ravine under it, a deep ravine that was under it.
right.
Miranda, try to find the spot that you were reading to me this morning where it does mention about him bringing the water, parting the waters. Well, he didn't quite say it like that, so that the people can get to the North to worship him. And then how he makes it go back to being flooded. It's only during certain seasons or times.
I don't know if I took a
You don't
screenshot
remember
of
where that
that.
was at? Huh?
No, I don't know if I took a screenshot of that. Hold on, let me.
Just because, man, if you could read that right now, because that was just so awesome. Micah, I'm responding to your text in the chat. They had shown right at the ocean's bottom, and I believe it was near the Bering Strait, actual gold bricks like a road that was covered. It is really wild. It's really wild. So that was definitely part of the path that the people traversed to go to the North to celebrate Feast of Tabernacles. And oh man, during the millennial reign, it's just, I tell you, it's amazing how all the puzzle pieces are coming together.
Wow. And what Sean shared there in chat, hagiography, Hagu convention, or Hagar, who was the wife, who was the bondwoman, who was born after the flesh, but the free woman was by promise. That correlates because Hagar, she was the prostitute that was saved because she helped the Israelites, and she ended up becoming of the lineage of King David himself, and then therefore Messiah as well.
Okay, I found one that I screenshotted if you guys want to hear about the passageways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Restricted source, Atlas Matonius Terrarium, Repository Vatican Secret Archives, Armarium X, fully restricted, cited in Abraham Ortelius' private correspondence with John Dee, 1580 British Library. Relevant text. The manuscript contains detailed maps of Friesland, Esototodiland, and other North Atlantic lands now obscured from common access. Most remarkably, it predicts when the millennium of Satan's binding concludes, the geographical paths that enabled travel to the northern sanctuary shall be withdrawn from physical access. Islands serving as waypoints for pilgrimage shall submerge beneath the waves. Mountains that marked routes shall crumble, and atmospheric barriers shall prevent approach to the polar sanctuary.
Wow.
Beginning first with Friesland, these lands shall appear from human access between 1536 and 1540 in precise reverse order from the emergence during the years when darkness covered the sun in 536 to 540 AD. Both sources document the disappearance of Friesland depicted on numerous Renaissance maps between 1536 and 1540. The accessible source confirms that the timing and includes eyewitness accounts of its vanishing, while the restricted source frames this is as predicted, event marking the reversal of geographical changes. Sorry, hold on.
Wow.
That predicted event marking the reversal of geographical changes that occurred at the millennium's beginning exactly 1,000 years earlier. So, and there was a lot that I was reading, but I just, when it comes to all of the geographical changes, the atmospheric changes, even the magnetic changes that happened once the binding was released.
Wow.
And yeah, and like I said, this is just one of them. There's others that go into more like specific detail, but they all match up to the same account that there are lands that are on maps that were previous to their knowledge. They went to go try and look for them because they were marked and they could not find them. And also the waters in the northern region got more dangerous after the binding as well.
Wow. That's exactly what we see today, too.
Yes.
Wow. My mind is blown, honestly.
Oh man, there was so much more she read this morning that I was getting so excited. I was like, this goes hand in hand with everything we've been learning.
So
Really
to answer Natalie's question, according to this doc that I have, the binding of Hasatan began in like 536. And the release happened in 1536, 1540, like around that time. And like I said, the accounts of the saints, they were all preparing and making a way for those that were coming to pilgrimage there in the north, had markers, had paths. There was even some that I was reading to my mom this morning where there were rivers during the appointed times that would part so that they could cross.
So they could cross into the north to
Yeah.
fellowship with, with
Wow.
Yah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of these were stone markers that had specific writing and even the cross on there to help guide them on their pilgrimage. Also, wasn't that what you came across, Miranda? Something about those markers in certain areas?
Yes. Now, whether it was like a cross or an X marks the
Yeah,
spot kind
yeah,
of thing is what I was thinking too, maybe. But yeah, and then they had again, they had like monasteries where there would be like monks there that would, that would be like, yeah, you go that way, kind of like, again, like little markers
yeah, to help
to
guide
help the
those that
travelers.
were,
Yeah.
uh-huh. And as soon as the fellowshipping and everything they were doing, like with the feast, when it was time to leave to go back to their own native countries, then Yah would place that water back over those paths. So it was only opened during those certain seasons and times.
Wow. Keep going, sister. We want to hear more.
I know, isn't that amazing? Oh my goodness, I'm so glad she started reading the document. That just is really encouraging me to get to the library and get it printed off. I want a hard copy of these documents.
Yeah, and that's what, and Natalie, yeah, they better show up on the right calendar. Exactly. Because it said during the appointed times
That
would
was the only, yep.
these paths be revealed.
Yeah, and he would literally part the waters so that the people could reach where they were at. Because other than that, they were closed off. You couldn't just go there whenever. It was only for the appointed times.
It's
Wow,
also
that
kind
makes
of
so much
random,
sense.
but it's like they always, it's like we always think that we're going to be teleported to somewhere or something. Like we don't have to work and put in action our belief. Like they had to travel there in order to do it.
And he will give us the wisdom and the discernment to know how to get there. So, I mean, he can guide us just like how he guided Abraham when he didn't have any idea where he was going. Whether Yah chooses to transport us, because he can, or where we're actually physically going to pilgrimage, but he will be guiding us where to go. And that's what's encouraging. And this is so beautiful. So, oh, wow. Wow. It's really,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
really,
I found another
did you find
one.
it? Okay.
I did find one more. And then, like I said, I highly suggest everybody looking through this PDF. It is really amazing.
It's mind blowing.
Okay, so the northern regions beyond Iceland and Greenland, sorry, relatively accessible to voyagers through previous centuries, became nearly impossible to approach beginning around 1538-1540. Mariners report unprecedented ice formations extending much further south than living in memory, combined with persistent adverse winds and unusual magnetic anomalies affecting compass reliability. Most notably, the island called Friesland, featured on numerous charts and described in accounts from previous centuries, can no longer be located by even the most experienced northern navigators. Likewise, the passages reported by Norse sailors that allowed relatively easily access to northern Greenland and lands beyond have become impassable. Some natural philosophers suggest these changes reflect a significant but temporary altercation in celestial influences.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to the previous one you read about, how the sun went dark and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's what we covered too. And there's that, it was like a 2-year period or so that the sun just completely went dark. It's recorded in actual history.
Yes, that account is in here too, and that apparently was the sign of Satan's binding,
Wow.
is what they say in these accounts.
See, this all goes hand in hand with what we already know. And there's no contradiction at all. It just gave me goosebumps the more she was reading. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, because this part says the manuscript concludes with this warning: when the 1,000 years of Satan's binding reach completion, All physical routes to the northern sanctuary shall be closed to prevent the enemy's direct assault upon it. The transformed saints shall withdraw the sanctuary partially from physical manifestation, becoming increasingly inaccessible to ordinary travelers. Signs of this closure will include abnormal ice formations extending unusually southward, persistent adverse winds, preventing northward sailing, and magnetic variations of such to where compasses are unable to be in use.
Boom. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, in the history of lost, the lost history of flat Earth, he talked about when you get closer to the true magnetic north, or the Mount Zion, basically, our compasses won't work. It'll just keep going in circles and circles, because because of the magnetic force being so powerful. So that's why you have to rely on celestial navigation, going by the stars.
Just showing the importance of the luminaries,
Exactly.
the importance of the luminaries, the north.
Yeah, and in many of these accounts too, they all acknowledge the fact that they follow the illuminaries to conclude when the end of the age is going to be. And so that, again, that definitely really concretes the idea that they know how time works. They know how the illuminaries work. If we can figure it out too, we should hopefully at least be able to know what age we're in.
Yeah, I agree with that without a doubt. That's where Marissa comes in. Not
Yes, but anyways, guys, like I said, this was my answer to prayer. And it's been such a blessing to read through it. And so I really hope that everyone else can get something from it as well.
Oh, we definitely have, for sure. And it just connects everything together. The calendar, the importance of being on the correct calendar, the importance of the north,
The
the
importance of
importance,
biblical cosmology, the whole thing.
all of it, literally, yes.
Yes. It's so beautiful. No contradictions at all. It's just absolutely amazing.
Truly. It it is such a blessing, that Yahuwah allows information to be revealed to us. And
All in his time.
yeah, absolutely, it truly is.
I mean, we know we are so close to the end. Of course, that's why when Miranda and I would talk about wanting to know and somehow get a hold of having the writings from either the glorified saints or the witnesses to those of the millennial reign, knowing that it would be in the Vatican vaults, and praying hopefully someone could get in there and then be able to leak some of it out to his people, because we are so close to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's why he fights so hard against, Yahuwah's people. It's why he fights so hard against those who share and spread the truth. It's why, he causes others to mock and scoff at the truth as well.
Yeah, and to go off of what Sean and Amanda said, again, these dates don't surprise me at all. To me, it's not a coincidence that we can't really find anything past, mid 1500s. Yeah, it's no coincidence that the calendar was changed in 1582.
Exactly.
It takes a process to gather the information, to destroy it or hide it, and then rewrite your own information that you want the whole world to follow.
That's
So,
why when we
no.
were talking about the Statue of Liberty and people thinking that that's when Hasatan was released, it's like, No, he had to have been quite a bit before that to be able to to shut those that lived and experienced the millennial reign, to put them in those insane asylums, to take their children away, to rewrite history, to try to hide or destroy little by little these millennial buildings, the whole bit. It's going to take time before you can establish a country like America, you know? And so with the Statue of Liberty showing 1776, I think, and then the chain being off of the ankle, referring to his release, I think this was when he had full control over the whole realm with knowledge, the fake knowledge, that is, of what he was wanting to teach the world.
Right. It
And
was basically like open house. He had to
yeah,
destroy
basically.
the true house, build up his own house of lies, and then reopen.
And that's what I think the
And I
statue,
believe I
yes.
believe 1776 was a reopening.
And to show, okay, this is now how the world is going to run, and America is going to be the pretty much the head of that, or Babylon, modern Babylon, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, the World's Fair's destructions of the architecture, all of that.
Yep. And of course, all the wars we've had since his release, and gaining control over everything to destroy what was left behind, especially with these buildings.
I think they were actually planned destruction to these buildings, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, Kim. You know, Hasatan is the king over America. He's really the king over.
The whole realm. I mean, every
Yeah,
vein of society
yeah.
throughout our whole realm is his temporary kingdom of lives. Everything.
Is my mic working? Yeah, it's working now. Cool.
Yeah, we hear you, brother.
Yeah, I plugged my hard drive in and took my camera out to download the PDF of the 1,000-year document.
Were you
Yeah,
able
if you
to?
find that document, that would be awesome. But is that like what was taken out of the Vatican?
So,
Or like,
yeah, so all those accounts are little snippets of what professors and other higher up people that have clearance to go to the restricted section in the Vatican. Those are little snippets from professors and what they referenced in their writings. That's the only reason
and
why some of these are out.
you found this from that video you shared?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I actually did watch that video when you sent it. When you were speaking about it, that's why I was like, oh yeah, that video.
Yeah.
That was a really good video.
It
Oh,
was.
did you already listen to it, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's worth another listen to, or 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is with the Geneva Bible, I believe the 1569, in the footnotes of the Geneva Bible, they talk about as if they knew the little season was coming soon. So whatever year it was printed or whatever, they weren't talking about it being like you know, a futuristic event, but that it was coming soon and that they were living in the millennial reign. Whoever wrote the Geneva.
Or the commentary in the Geneva.
Yeah.
Side notes.
Makes sense to me.
Thank you. Yes, 1560. That's what I meant. And I'm on a hunt, and those are not easy to find. And if they are, they're
Yeah.
not cheap.
I have this script, the hard copy of this, actually.
Of the Geneva?
Yeah, the 1560.
That's so awesome. I need it. I need one.
Yeah, I like, for instance, as well, how the spelling in Old English, I went back to it even, it's that good. Like, Kingdom, like, for Kingdom, like, it just makes so much sense. Old English.
Yes, it's not a coincidence
Rather
that they have
than
really dumbed it
Kingdom,
down,
like,
the American.
Dominion.
What was
It's
that?
like Dominion, Dominion of the Dome.
Oh, yes.
Or dominance.
Wow, that interesting. Yeah, the King's
Yeah,
Dome.
the King's Dome, right?
But yeah, Jeremy, like you were saying earlier, in order to truly understand the calendar, in order to truly understand timekeeping, and to truly understand what prophets like Elijah, Esdras, even the apostles, Paul, it really is like a foundational, firm belief in biblical cosmology that you, in my opinion, have to have in order to understand any of this.
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, the strong delusion is like plays heavily into cosmology.
Yeah, it's literally foundational to understanding, honestly.
It reminds me of what it says in Enoch, and I forgot the chapter and the verses. Oh, yeah, it was in the Apocalypse of Weeks when he mentions, and I can't remember which week it was. Oh, no, it was the, what was it, the 7th week? I can't remember, where he said that there'll be a 7-fold understanding of creation. And that's mind-blowing because look how much we have learned in regards to his creation and how it opens up the doors for learning other very important truths.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, I remember Miranda was speaking about that before. Did you ever learn anything else about that?
Yes. I mean, more questions come up than answers.
The Apocalypse of Weeks has always
Yeah.
intrigued me. Going by the different eras that were. Go ahead, Miranda. Or age, I mean, how it explains and goes into detail of each age, and how I believe there's a blending of the last 3. Go ahead, Miranda.
Yeah, so Jeremy, I know that, when we talk about the Apocalypse of Weeks, I kind of presumed that maybe Earth is older than just 7,000 years. I kind of still believe that, but I always thought that the Apocalypse of Weeks was about 1,000 years. But I've kind of changed my stance on that just up until the very last Apocalypse of Weeks that Enoch talks about. Is I think they get the ages themselves get significantly shorter. At least when you come into especially when you come into close to the end of the very last age, because he literally cuts it off like in the oh gosh, like in like the quarter of like the 10th week. And you're like, wow. And then that, to me, that kind of aligns with the scripture of like, he cuts time short or else no flesh would be saved. I feel
Yep.
like that's kind of like a
Yep.
duel between what happened right before Yahushua's second coming and what's going to happen right before his final revealing and the commencement of the final age and the final judgment. So like for us, I don't think this current age that we're in is going to be even close to 1,000 years, especially since if you think about a season, about a quarter of that year would be a season. So, or I'm sorry, of the 1,000 years. So in my opinion, like the little season, I don't know, I feel like it can't be maybe any more than 450 years. And then that's just me throwing a number out there, but it's definitely not a full 1,000 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why it's a short season versus a full one,
Yeah, but definitely still studying the Apocalypse of Weeks. And then Marissa loves the astronomical clock there in Prague. She got a wooden one and it looks fantastic. Hanging up in her massage office. And if you look at the depictions of the constellations, right, that the sun goes throughout the entire year, some of them are bigger and some of them are smaller. To me, that depicts maybe the ages, and I believe we're in the smaller part now. And so again, like how many years are in the ages now? Definitely not as many as there used to be. Definitely not as many as there used to be before the flood too. Because our lives are also shorter. Our generations of
So
families are shorter.
So Micah was mentioning in the comments about the phoenix rising every 500 years. And that's what I was trying to remember. The fig tree generation, they think now we are out of Hasatan's little season and is in the transition from little season to the throne judgment because of the phoenix rising. That's what it was. They were mentioning something about the phoenix rising and how our leaders, not just here in America, but throughout our realm, are talking about, the reset and from what is it? Out of chaos. How's that saying go again? From chaos to peace.
Order out of chaos.
Yeah, order out of chaos, and that's all referring to the phoenix. And of course, you've got the phoenix emblem for America and several other, world powers. But so this is what the fig tree generation was saying. And this is what I was trying to remember, Miranda, and I couldn't exactly remember until Micah mentioned about the phoenix rising every 500 years. And of course, like I said, on the news itself, that we're going through a reset. So that's why they think that we're out of the little season and in the transition from out of little season to the phoenix rising, and right there then going into the throne judgment. Okay, that's what I wanted to share.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And no, that prog clock you got there, Sister Marissa, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I love that thing. I have it on I have like a little poppet or whatever you call it on my phone, and it has the prog clock on it. Yeah, I like that thing. It's cool.
Yeah, really. It's the ancient technology there.
It's
Speaking of
funny
that,
because, oh, sorry, Jeremy.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just wanted to make a note is when Lost History of the Flat Earth came out, he had mentioned that during COVID, they actually changed the face of, so in the middle part, you can see land. They, I guess that's when Flat Earth was really catching. And they changed the face of that clock and they put a globe in
Globe
it.
on it. They did a lot of changes during COVID and the shutdown. Boy, they did not only spiritual, physical, but the physical changes.
Yeah, careful of using that word though as well. But yeah,
Which word? I'm
the
sorry.
the scamdemic one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. That's what they got me for on our last health video.
Oh, really?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good. No worries.
For
Like
educational
someone
purposes
said there.
only.
Yeah, but like someone said there earlier, if they're silencing it and removing it, it's 100% truth. No
Oh, yeah.
doubt.
You're right over the target, so to speak.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely excited about everything you just found there, Miranda. That's it's really mind blowing, honestly.
Yes, another thing that keeps me up at night now.
Right? Yeah, it's just so many deep connections that if you don't understand one part, you're not going to understand all the rest.
Why do we think that he would allow NASA to be formed and to spend probably trillions of dollars to keep the truth hidden about the realm we live on? Because look where it leads to. Look what it leads to, Messiah, the true north,
Exactly.
everything. Man, the true
Yeah.
calendar, everything. No wonder he formed NASA. Man.
Yeah. To deceive. Exactly.
This is interesting. Can I put this in like a post, Miranda?
Like on Facebook?
Yeah.
You could definitely try. I have no idea if they'll censor it though. So the guy in the YouTube video tried to link these PDFs in the information box underneath the video, and YouTube would not allow him to. So
Yeah, cool. I might make a series on Facebook because it's really cool, and then drop the links if you have any other links, or is it just that one PDF?
I can add the two other PDFs. They're not as large as the first one, but yeah, I can link the other two. And yeah, if Facebook will let you do it, I say do it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Because the more believers we get digging into like lost archives is pretty important, I think.
So there's a way that you can hide things from Facebook. I don't know if you guys have ever used Imager.com. It's just you can put a link in that into it embeds it into a photo. And so you paste the photo, you send the photo to Facebook. And so when they click on the photo, then it'll take you to them, and then you click on the link. That's how I got away with all of my truth stuff.
Interesting.
What's that?
It's imgr.com. I'll find it for sure. I think it's imgur.com. I'll look for it and I'll post it in the chat.
That's a good idea.
IMGUR, yeah, I see.
And I noticed they only post links on your own post now. Like if you comment a link on somebody else's post, it doesn't come up. At least for me.
Yeah, they're making it so hard. Like it depends. Like you can't look at your shared posts or yeah, some things are so hard to find comments and stuff. most viewed or like all comments and stuff.
Yeah, they always do that too. Like you have to like physically go and click on, no, I want to see all the comments. Otherwise it'll only show a few.
Yeah. Just try to like disrupt free speech or like ease of speech as much as possible.
All right, I attached the other 2 docs, PDF docs, in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you,
Awesome.
sister.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Welcome.
I'll probably forward those unless somebody already has. No, not yet. Here, I'll go and I'll forward these guys to the little season tab. Awesome. And yeah, the binding of Satan was recorded around, was it 1560 or 560 and loosed on 1560?
Yes. At least that's what all these accounts in these docs say. So the sun going dark was the sign that the Dark One was being put in his prison. And then his loosening, there was a lot of astronomical alignments that were happening. And then things being shifted. So there were other, which also makes me think of like maybe the mud floods too. I'm not sure. But yeah, very interesting.
No, that is. And those links actually are not working for some reason.
The last 2 I sent?
Yeah, they're not like like you can't click on them or anything.
Okay. All right, give me a second. Let me see if I can
Yeah, no worries.
all right. Hold please.
No, they always gotta hide the truth, you know? Or they make it very difficult to find. And yeah, while you do that, actually, we got nearly 4 hours right now. So I'll stop this recording and I'll start a new one so it doesn't get, interrupted. Give me just a moment here.